Oh, right, I'm on. It's not a hangout or anything huge. Yeah, this is just an easier option. I keep forgetting about this rather than, sitting and doing a vlog. If something comes to my mind, it's a great option, this. I can just fire it up and say what I'm thinking and what I'm looking at right now. So, what I've been looking at, bear with me a wee minute. I'll start off by reading a couple of wee things here and then, explain what it is I've been thinking about and looking into. Hang on, just bear with me 2 seconds. I say this is just not scheduled. So it's just as the thoughts were coming to me and as I started to have a wee look and research, I thought I would upload it, live as it happens. So it's much easier. Sorry, 2 seconds, people. Bear with me. So I started looking at water levels and stuff like that. I'll get to the point, but I'm just going to read a couple of these things. So I found this, a smart leveler, a precision construction altimeter that delivers fast, easy, accurate readings even around obstructions. So I've got an explanation of it, more durable. Don't know if this is really relevant. Hang on, just bear with me and I'll find where I was. The smart water level, digital water level, is highly precise level that works on the ancient Pascal principle of hydrodynamics, that water always seeks its own level. There's a surprise. While the principle may be ancient, the technology behind the smart level is far from it. The level consists of sensitive digital pressure gauge connected with a tubing to a sealed fluid-filled reservoir. The pressure differential between the digital display and reservoir is determined by the height differential and provides accurate, repeatable elevation measurements, blah, blah, blah. So the reason I was looking at these things is because, I found a forum, guys who build and they use levels and stuff like that. So, they were talking about what was more accurate and why, they always double check the laser equipment with a water level. Okay, so, I'm not going to really hinge too much on that. I think it's plainly obvious for anybody with a thinking mind to know that that's how water behaves. So, anyway, I'll not bother reading too much of that out. What started coming to my mind, hang on a wee minute. What started coming to my mind was this. Now, I just need to check something quick, so bear with me. This is the problem with live though. So, I asked myself, how deep, what is do they say is the deepest parts of the ocean? So we have 36,000 feet, right? So 36,000 feet, wait a wee minute. So 10 kilometres, right? The deepest ocean, right? That's the deepest parts of the ocean that they're telling us. So then you go to their claims, because the reason this came to me is because I hear these idiots, these clowns saying, well, if you scale the earth, the water compared to the mass of the earth is a really thin layer, right? So we're looking here and it's saying, okay, 10 kilometres is the deepest. Okay, now, if we take that, right, and then we look at their other claims, like the layers of earth, like the mantle and the crust and all this fucking nonsense and jargon. Now, it's very obvious to me that water through rock, dirt, sand, it's going to seep through every time. Now, even if there's slight hairline cracks, water will find its way through it, right? Now, if we take this comparison that the deepest parts of the ocean, as they will tell you, is 10 kilometres. And then we're going to look at, where are we? We're going to look at how deep this crust layer is that we're supposed to be living on, right? And then we're going to ask ourselves, why the fuck is the water not draining through the crust if it's just this wee thin layer, right? Why does it no fucking drain all the way in? That tells me that it's something fucking solid, something sealed in order for it to maintain that, to keep that level. So that was pretty much the point of this, probably just going to be short, but it got me thinking, it sent me on this wee road. So as I say, this live option is a great thing just to do it as it's happening and as the thoughts are coming to you. But hang on to see who's here. Does anybody get that? Do you understand what I'm saying here? Oh, we've got some people here. What was I reading? So I was reading some of the forum. Thanks, Jeff. So I noticed yesterday a problem in the transit that I thought I fixed. Levelling the bubble over a set of wheels, I spun the barrel 180 degrees and got a different reading. This happened over both sets of wheels. I was able to balance the bubble over 90 degrees, but as soon as I did a 180, it wouldn't hold. I assumed the barrel of the transit wasn't parallel with the base, so I balanced the two over 90 degrees, then noticed the change in the 180 degree swing. I then took half of this difference out and tilting the barrel. I re-levelled over the wheels, and this time it held true through 360 degrees. Should this have been set correctly? Can something else be amiss? Going back to a water level versus transit argument, if the transit is relatively good quality and properly set up in the middle of the site, which one is most accurate? An off-the-point question here, when levelling footing forms, can a person level one side of the form all the way around with the instrument and then come back and set the other side to the first with a level? Seems like a real cost saver, as half the work is then a one-man job instead of a three. See any problems? Question mark. And I don't trust the lasers to be as accurate as either one of the above. Am I wrong? Right. So that's just one. People can go to these forums and look at what these guys are, asking. There's a reason why, the water is used. And I can even see them referring to here, how the Egyptian and, they built the pyramids by digging trenches and using the water to see if it was level. It's everywhere. But, and then I asked that question, why doesn't the water's there, the Earth's water drain inside the Earth? And you go to these places and you get the usual fucking waffle. Honestly, I mean, we're talking, we're taking what they're saying is about the Earth's crust and core. I mean, there they go. The crust is the outer layer of the Earth. It is a thin layer between 0 to 60 kilometres thick. The crust is a solid rock layer upon which we live, right? So you've got to ask yourself, now that, and they tell you, how much your percentage, and it's not even 1%, they say, that makes up the mass of the Earth, right? So why is this wee thin layer of water that you're claiming is curved round your ball, why is it not seeping through? Right. So we know the globe's fucking nonsense. But again, when we discount the globe and we remove it, I'm asking myself then, well, the oceans stay pretty much level all the time, right? So if that was true under there, that you these layers of crust and earth and sand and rock and all that, the water would just keep seeping through. That tells me that, the underside, whatever's going on, must be something sealed and solid, right? So wait a minute till I see. Does anybody understand what I'm saying here? How do we have? I'm going to go up to see if anybody gets it. Where are we? Marshall, you're here. How are you doing? Sorteray, Ali B, how are you? Be the water, flat water, certainly is. Andy Caston, Flensburg greets back to south. HH, I mean that's hail, hopefully. Hi team, the Morgale, how you doing, man? Billy Sunday, how you doing? Johnny Shelton, Cynthia OC, Markovsky, Jamie Brown, nobody's drilled more than 8 miles down, but they claim what's at the core. Well, that's the point I'm talking about. You just go with what they're telling you. And you hear these clowns trying to tell you, the ocean's just a thin layer, like, a spray on a ball. I mean, it's not a thin layer, it's a vast body of water, right? But you take what they're claiming, as I'm saying, this thin layer, why is it not fucking seeping through? Because the deepest part, compared to what the crust's meant to be, it should fucking seep through. Yeah, John Watson, the challenge of deep in the Mariana Trench is the deepest known point in the Earth's oceans. That's the one I was reading, right? So then look at the depth of the crust. So I'm just looking to see if anybody gets what I'm saying here. Fry Prez, good afternoon, just listening in, but also will lay rest while I listen to the debate. I hope you feel better soon. Fry Prezi, there isn't a debate, and even if there was somebody here, it wouldn't be a debate anyway. I can't really debate in the actual world, it just is what it is. But I really hate it when I hear people calling it that. What's Dank Devon saying that's been deleted? Let's see. Do flat chest lives matter? Ali B, there is no hole in the bucket. Well, that's the point, it would drain. We know it doesn't matter if you have a slight fucking crap or gap anywhere, the water's going to seep its way through. So these clowns are telling us that this crust is so thick, but it's got this water that's so deep sitting on top of it without draining through. Badger 4873, keep it going, Dale, you're getting it out there. Karen B, hi all, hi Dale, how you doing, Karen? Regards to the sun tracking thing, you know, I'll promote any activism with anybody and anybody trying to achieve anything, but, you know, I'm still going to have an issue with what the thing actually is and what we're actually observing. Do we know for a fact that it's just one thing? I mean, I don't know, but I'll still, you know, promote any activism and anybody trying to find answers. Well, while I'm here, if anybody wants a wee chat about this, you can come in and have a chat. Marshall, I'll give you the link just now. I'm not planning on being on long, as I say. I just wanted to say that as I was thinking about it and looking at it. Morgale, according to reality, the North Star has been in its same spot for all of history. According to precession of the equinoxes, we should see a new North Star every century at the most. Now, according to their stories, you know, just on, you know, your own personal observations, these things are not changing. You know, if they are fixed, they would appear to be fixed to me. You know, you just can't ruin the fact that there must be solid parts, you know, fixed parts to this machine, whatever it is. How you doing, mate?
You're right, dude.
How's it going, mate?
You just announced that the links going out to anybody that requests it to nocurve@gmx.com.
Cool.
I'll drop the addy in the chat box for you.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to talk about what I've just said, did you understand what I was saying there, mate?
Well, I sort of just getting organised things. I came in a little bit late, but yeah, I mean, basically, I think most people got it from what I could see.
Yeah. So, you know, it tells me if you're going to seal water, and it has to be really sealed, you know. If you're using earth and rock and sand, then the water's going to keep seeping, you know. I read some of their bullshit. Oh, only a wee bit seeps and then it gets pumped back through the volcanoes and all this fucking stuff. I mean, as I say, mate, I only wanted to make that point while it was happening. That's the beauty of this. You know, I keep forgetting about it and to use it. You know, when you're thinking about something new, you can just do it as it happens. Does anybody want a chat? If you want a chat, let us know. All right, so yes, I do. I'm away up the chat here so people are understanding what I'm saying. Jibby Jedi can only drill 8 miles down but can display thousands of miles of inner earth in school books. Well, that's the thing, you know, you go and look at these things and the one I was looking at again, just there, it's a fucking drawing. It is a drawing, a cartoon, yet again, you know. But, you know, the holes are really appearing in all the nonsense they've told us, as I've said, just as I've pointed out here, you know, with their crust and their thin layer of ocean. So here, you know, somebody's trying to explain it away by talking nonsense. Some water is introduced into the mantle at subduction zones and the mid-oceanic rifts where the sea floor spreading occurs. The amount of water lost is not as much as you might intuit. The density of the mantle is greater than the density of the ocean water. So just like oil tends to float on top of water, water tends to float on top of the mantle. So here we've just compared apples to fucking oranges again. You know, this is the tricks that these clowns use. You know, just like water tends to, oil floats on top of water. No, we're talking about water on earth, on rock, dirt and sand. You know, this is the nonsense. Water vapour is released back into the atmosphere by volcanoes. Without volcanoes, water lost into the mantle would stay there forever. The process of water entering the mantle and being released by volcanoes reaches an equilibrium. Eventually, Earth's geological process will slow down and less water vapour will be released into the atmosphere by volcanoes, altering the equilibrium. Our sun will also increase in luminosity and will begin to boil away our oceans in about 1.5 billion years. The Earth's oceans may be completely gone. Fuck me, that must be some fucking crystal ball they have at these institutions. I mean, where the fuck do these people get this? You know, in 1.5 billion years from now, such and such is going to happen. You know, the James Randi Foundation, you know, are waiting to offer anybody £1 million. Why do these fucking fruitcakes not go forth and say, look, we have predictive capabilities to see 1.5 billion years into the future. Give me your money. So, what else was I reading? Is anybody coming to speak?
Sorry, Doug. Karen B's asked for the link. Karen, I've sent the link out to you.
What was it again there? Ocean. He was another one. The simple answer is that not all of the ocean floor is made of sand. The ocean floor consists of many materials and it varies by location and depth. In shallow areas along coastlines, you'll mainly find sand on the ocean floor. As you venture deeper though, you'll encounter other thicker soils and sediments. That the water would fucking seep through very quickly. In the deepest parts of the ocean, you'll find layers of Earth's crust make up the ocean floor. These deepest layers are made up of rock and minerals. Unlike the soft sands along the shoreline, those deep layers of thick rock and minerals do a fine job of holding the water in the world's oceans. That rock would have to be solid, one compact, full piece with no cracks or anything in it. You go and try and make a flat top roof, and having to make it watertight. Right, that's enough of the reading the nonsense. I'll go and see what's happening in the chat. Now, I'm just reading this here, again with these cartoons with my own. Bite size has changed, right? So we're in bite size. The structure of the Earth. The inner core is the centre and is the hottest part of the Earth. It's solid, made up of iron and nickel with temperatures of up to 5,000 degrees Celsius. With its immense heat energy, the inner core is like the engine room of the Earth. It's solid, but it's at that temperature. I'm not even reading any more of this crap. Ludicrous. Are you still there, Marshall?
Yeah, I'm here, dude. Karen's got the link. She should be with you in a minute.
Thank you. Jared Buto, I'm here for answers. Well, what questions do you have? I think I've just missed a load of the chat here because I've skipped it. I don't know what's happened. Lorna Christie, hi from Ayrshire, my fellow fatties. How you doing, Lorna? Nice to see another Scot. If you believe in the ball, Turbo Teabag 08, if you believe in the ball, this channel is not for you, no, because you're likely to get your illusions shattered. Wake up. And how is a dome below possible if the world is flat? What?
Hi, Karen.
Oh. Hi.
Hi, Karen.
How's it going?
Yeah, all right. Did you make sense of what I was saying?
A little bit. I kind of came in the middle of it.
Right. How's things anyway? All right.
They're good. I've been doing some measurements on my sun tracking stuff, and it's already off. The first measurement I took is off by quite a bit, actually. So I'm interested to see what everybody else gets and what it shows us.
What's off in regards to what they say it should be, or it's off to what you expected?
Yeah, because they say it should be. If you go to, I went to SunCalc, and the time that I took the measurement, it said they were saying that the azimuth of the sun should be 172, 173 degrees, and the elevation should be 54 degrees. But when I measured it myself, it was off. The azimuth was actually 168 degrees, and the elevation was 60 degrees. So it was off by 4 degrees on the azimuth and 6 degrees on the elevation. And if you take into account how fast the sun moves, it's off by half an hour. I have to do the math on how much that's off, but
anomalies. You'll need to excuse me because I'm not involved in this, so my understanding on the instrumentation and what you're trying to achieve is not there. So, but you're finding anomalies, eh?
Yes.
Cool. So it'll be interesting then if you've got a few people gathered to take part tomorrow.
Yeah, we do. There's people in the Southern Hemisphere. We've got someone in New Zealand. I've heard there's someone in South Africa and also someone in South America. So I'm hoping that they do it and they participate, because that's going to make a big difference in what we find out.
Yeah. Hopefully they take part.
Mm-hmm. So what was it exactly you were talking about with the water and the Earth's crust?
No, just taking the depth. I've had these characters coming to me saying, take the scale of the Earth, the mass of the Earth, and compare it to the size of the oceans, and it's a thin layer, and blah blah blah. So I went and looked at the deepest part, they say, which is what was it now? I forget.
Oh, the Mariana Trench.
Mariana Trench, yeah. And you compare that to the crust depth, which they say is 0 to 60 kilometres, But, you have this thin layer compared to what they say in the mass of the Earth that's not draining through the sediments, So it seems like a contradiction to me. It would suggest to me that whatever contains the oceans would have to be, sealed and solid, Because even if there is slight leakage anywhere, it's just going to keep eroding and get bigger and bigger. And if they want to claim that crust, is what they say, then you've got a real issue there. How are they going to explain that? So
yeah, I don't think they know. They don't know. But they don't get paid. They don't get paid big bucks for saying I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, big bucks for telling stories. Yeah. So again, obviously I know it's nonsense, but I just thought it was another wee point to highlight. So is there anything you want to say to people? You know, you try and get people involved, or anything they need to know?
Yeah, well, I mean, if it's kind of a lot to explain how to do this, if they could just watch, if you want to watch the video. I know today is the start of the vernal equinox. It's what, today and tomorrow, or tomorrow and the next day, but you know, between now and Tuesday is the time to do it. If you want to, you know, get involved and start taking measurements, it's actually pretty easy to do. But yeah, anybody who wants to do it and get involved would be great.
Yeah. But if they want to get in touch with you, just at your channel or Facebook.
Yeah, that's my channel icon right there. There's a lot of Karen B's on YouTube.
What about a link? Can we post a link in the chat box to your channel?
Okay, let me get it.
Karen, put it in the group chat in this video window, okay? And I'll link it into the chat box, because I'm not so sure that you'll be authorised to do that.
All right, enough. Unless you've got a spanner.
I put it in the group chat.
Okay, cool.
Oh, Del. Actually, while I'm on the hangout with you, I did want to ask you some questions, because I do want to start doing what you've been doing and talking to people on the street about flat Earth and using the Socratic method and stuff that you do. And I was wondering, when you first approach somebody, like before the camera, before what we see, before the camera's rolling, how does that go? Like, how many people do you have to ask before you actually get someone to agree to do it? And what do you say to them?
Well, you know, to be honest with you, there's very few people say no. You know, one of the last times that we went out, I think it was out for a couple of hours, and we'd spoken to 5 people. So that's about it, you know, and you just say, you know, can we ask you some questions? And they'll say, what about? And we'll say, well, you know what, it's just about general knowledge, critical thinking, the world you live in. We're not looking for an academic answer. We're not looking for you to have the right answer. We're not here to make you look daft. You know, and then they might say, well, what's it about? And I'll usually say, well, to be honest with you, I'd rather we just, you know, go, you know, on camera, and I'll ask the questions, because part of it is to get real-time reaction. You know, that's part of the study for me, is just to see how people react as you see it, you know. So you don't want to say it, you know, and then, but, you know, if they're persistent, then we'll say, look, it's about this, we're going to ask you, you know, we'll just open it up front with people. But no, there really is no resistance at all. I think a wee bit of discernment, you know, just looking at people, you know yourself, if people are making eye contact, curious about what you're up to. You know?
Yeah, that's pretty good. I actually approached somebody. I was at a beer fest here in my little small town a week ago, and I went up to somebody, and he said hi to me, and then I said, hey, how are you? And he's like, I'm good. And I said, hey, did you know the earth is flat? And he was like, no. But he was actually pretty open to it. He was listening to what I said, and he was really nice. So yeah, I can see how most, you know, people would be, you know, open to talk to you about it. I don't think most people are as standoffish as you would think they are.
If you're buzzing around like a bee and you're approaching people with the wrong attitude, you know, and just harassing everybody, then it's going to be a different experience for you. And if that's the way you are, I wouldn't be going out and doing it anyway. You know, you have to be humble and, you know, carry yourself that way and be respectful to people. You know, you're just going to make an arse of it. You know? What are you doing? Mindfulness, John?
How are you doing? I'm all right, myself. How are you doing, me, Ahmed?
All right, mate.
Yeah, sounds, yeah, all good, yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent with the street interviews, mate. Really good. Made up. Just like to say, you know, I hope a lot of people follow the lead, because it's time to, you know, get out and speak to people a bit more, the same as what Del's doing. It's, you know, as he's explaining there, it's easy. More of us should be doing it. More of us should take the lead. You know, it's easy to stay behind our computers. It's nice and comfortable. But I can only echo his sentiments there. It's fantastic when you get out there. I've done little bits of it myself, lifeguards and all that. I'm planning on doing more. It's a good feeling. And you know, I do encourage people to get out there and do it, because I think this is the time now where we've got to start making things happen a little bit more.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
That's cheers, mate. And that's interesting. You know, I encourage people to look at Sean's one with the lifeguards, because again, you know, a different approach. You know, still trying to make the same points, but using it his way and incorporating himself into it. So, you know, if people can use the Socratic method and then just be them, be yourself. You know, it's not like you need to emulate somebody. The Socratic method is just an objective tool that everybody can employ and use use, to suit their own personality or whatever.
And I think, sorry, just to interject there, just while Karen's on, it's a great point. No one's trying to make a fool of anybody at all, and no one's trying to make anyone look stupid. It's just a case of saying, I mean, with the case with them lifeguards, the lifeguards actually work with water, and for me, water's the big thing, and the pressure system's the big thing. The two things that are so blatantly obvious: water and the pressure system.
Yeah.
The atmosphere does not just dissipate and then become space where it's a vacuum, because it doesn't happen like that on Earth.
No.
It doesn't happen like that on Earth. And water on Earth, any body of water, and for people who are listening, we're not talking about a raindrop on a leaf, which is just a small volume of water stretching itself, but once it's added to, it takes its natural form. We're talking about large bodies of water. Are the two big things for me, the two blatantly obvious things. And with the lifeguards, they work with water, and if you go and have a little look at it, Karen, it's very, very interesting, because once they got it in their head, I walked away from it, and you could just leave them thinking about it and asking about it, and I think you've got to trust the person to then do the thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What I want to do is actually, and I was thinking about it before I saw you doing it in your video, you had the tablet with the pictures and stuff that you were showing to people. What I was going to do, or what I'm planning to do, is I'm going to print out a bunch of pictures and diagrams, and I'm going to put together a binder that you can flip through. And so I'll have like all the scientific part of it, the natural science part of it. And then because of where I live in the southern United States, and where I live is referred to as the Bible Belt. There's a lot of religious people here. I'm not religious, but that's a really big deal around here. Even in my little small town, there's big churches everywhere. So that man that I approached last week, one of the last things I brought up to him, I was like, hey, do you read the Bible? And he was like, yeah. And I said, well, you should look in the Bible what it says about the earth, because it says the earth is flat. And that, for some reason, that he was like, oh, really? Like that was what got his attention. And, everybody's different. Everybody's got something different that kind of, puts the switch on in your brain to say, oh, you know what, maybe there's something to this. So what I'm going to add to that binder too is all the Bible verses that I can point to, that they can go back and look and reference, because for a lot of people, that's the trigger. Everybody's got their own trigger.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Just formulating it for whatever, your target is, and that's it. If that's what gets them, then you formulate it and you use it, just sharpen the arrow and send it to them. It's the best method. And then, as you get better at it, you have that ability while you're there on the street, you can read people and, use a different method to see what's going to affect them or trigger them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's purely what it is. It's just to try and trigger, as Sean said, trigger them into that thinking process, and avoid just telling them something, but at all costs, just avoid saying, this is the way it is, by the way. I try and avoid that all the time.
Yeah, because no one likes to be told to do anything or told anything, or none of us like that in any walk of life, really. Not, I think most open-minded people don't like to be told things. We like to experience things for ourselves and judge it for ourselves, assess it for ourselves, sort of thing. And I think you have to allow people to do that.
Yeah.
For me, I won't stay long. I'm just saying hello, checking in. I haven't spoke to you for a while. Nice to speak to Karen. I was listening to the other night. I think it's great what you're doing, Karen, and I think it's great that you're going to go out as a female, when you got a nice karma about you. And I think that we need more activism like that, certainly following off the Dell's lead there. I think, I just want to say, like, for me, at the end of the day, when we've all got a mind, and I think it's all been programmed, and we all choose our programming, or we're born into a program, whether we're born into a Catholic family, a Protestant family, a Jewish family, or whatever religion. We're born into a program, and our minds are then programmed, and then we follow that program until we can formulate our own program. And I think every mind's got a program, but in a perfect world, if you take away all the programming from everybody's mind, you're left with natural, observable, what you can see, and not what you're told, or not what you're told to read in a book. And water is so obvious for so many years. You've got a round spinning globe that we're looking at on the TV for years and years and years. And it's been said before by a lot of people. At school, you'd go, well, Australia's upside down. How do people stand upside down on a ball? You're told to forget that, and it just doesn't make sense. And we've gone past all that now, I think. think, you know, a lot of the attacks have gone because it's that initial reaction of when you challenge someone, you just want to come and, you know, beat you and defend what they believe, defend everything about them because that's their existence. And I think a lot of that's passing now, and a lot of people are quietly, you know, thinking, hang on, there's something there that we, you know, but it just takes time, patience and perseverance, you know.
Yeah, that's it. Eventually people are going to go because it's not going away, you know, so people will now starting to go, you know, better have a look at this. As we can see it with the kind of mainstream stuff, you know, I've seen this morning Eddie Bravo thing on InfoWars, and a wee bit disappointed with that again, you know. It's so infuriating when you have these characters who don't fully grasp it and don't know the right angle to come in at it with, and it really doesn't do it justice at all. So
no, he kind of made a bit of a laughing stock, not too much of a laughing stock, but he doesn't come across like he's representing it well, you know.
I agree. I watched that this morning, and
covering the topic but not representing it too well.
Right.
Yeah. But again, the only positive I can take for it is that it, you know, becomes a bit more socially acceptable again because it's now been heard again and again, which, you know, I think gives real people the opportunity to be heard, and people will stumble across, you know, people who are pushing the real truth and understand it a bit better. So it's hard to look at it as totally negative, you know, or some conspiracy to ridicule it and discredit it. You know, either way, it's still publicity, you know. So, but you know, it's annoying because you wish you were sitting there yourself, you know.
I mean, I think like what you were saying about people don't want to be told. I was just kind of flashing back to when I first found out about flat Earth, and like everybody thought it was ridiculous. But the video that I watched that kind of made me continue with it is they were showing, you know, things of, you know, all the proofs like the sun and the rays and, you know, the water and the horizon and all that stuff, that obvious stuff that you see. And I don't even remember who made the video, and I haven't been able to find it, but he did a really good job because he just kept saying, don't believe me, go look for yourself and ask questions. And he just kept repeating that. He kept saying, just ask questions. And that's what I did. And it worked for me, you know, because I ask questions and then I seek the answers to the questions myself. And then, you know, it's like you said, you can't be told, nobody can be told. If you discover this on yourself and you come to this realization yourself, then you know it's real.
That's it. And that just seems to be our nature. We don't want to be told. We want to experience things for ourselves so that then we know them and we understand them properly, you know. That nobody likes to be told anything, and with this being such a delicate thing, you really have to approach it in that the right manner, you know. It's going to cause problems for you if you're trying to make a point, you know. And it can be disheartening when you know, some people can go, you know, they'll not present it properly, they'll get a bad reaction, they'll stumble, they'll stutter, and that's enough to put them off, you know. So I think you just need to be prepared, you know.
Does gravity come up very much when you talk to people? I don't recall seeing too much about how you explain gravity. Like, I try to tell people gravity doesn't exist in its buoyancy and density, but man, it seems like when you discuss that with people, that's a really hard concept for people to get over.
Yeah. You know? I just keep it as questioning again, you know. Gravity, and I'll say, well, can you define gravity, and then can you show me practical examples and how you're measuring it and what it actually is, you know, and not just a God of the gaps type, you know, saying, you know, well, just throw gravity, something we can't explain, we'll just throw gravity at it, you know. So I just say, if you turn it straight back on them, well, you need to define it and then show me exactly what it is, and they'll do the usual, well, jump off the building, you know, and then I can say, well, I can explain that because of this, you know, where is the gravity part, you know, and then it's usual, why does it not fall upwards, and you start wandering off into all this, you know, the usual crap with the earth's flat, how does my hairdryer work, you know, that's nonsense. But so again, you know, I just turn it straight back on them. That's what I say to people at the start, you know, focus on what the claims are and remember to have that attitude. You know, you're waking up and you're questioning a claim that already exists that you were born into. So the burden of proof is not on you, you know, the burden of proof lies with that claim and all the claims that it makes, regardless of what it is. As soon as they try and turn it onto you, you know, you should be stopping them and saying, no, listen, you know, I'm not coming with a claim, I'm questioning. And if you are defending that claim and you want to push a claim, then the burden is with you with every aspect of it, you know. They always want to switch the tables.
Yeah, I could see that's That's exactly what happens a lot. You have to not let them
pass the buck.
Right.
Yeah, it takes a bit of discipline, that, because people get caught up in thinking they have to question, and people are clever at, just diverting and, making, all of a sudden you're the one that's answering questions now. You're like, no, you need to go, wait a wee minute. No, if let's just stick to the first agreement. You're making a claim, I'm not, so that's the boundary, But,
yeah, man, that's it.
But the sophists, they'll come and, their sophism arguments, and that's purely what it is. As Sean was saying, we're not talking about a drip of water. Don't misrepresent your actual claim. We're talking about vast bodies. What happens when many drips collect together? What's the behaviour of the liquid then, But, that's sophism. They're just trying to implant an image and argue based on that image. That's why they push the vomit comet and the images of drips on branches, and, that is sophism. That is it,
You would say. So would say. I'm looking forward to see what you do, Cam.
Yeah, Zern, I don't know if you guys know who Zern Music is, but he lives here in Charlotte right by me, and he wants to go out. So we're going to, as soon as I get my materials together, we're going to do it. We're going to go out and do it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's a few people now that I'm hearing that are going to be getting out and doing it. I think that some people have already tried and done some trial runs, so I really look forward to it.
Yeah,
great, I think as soon as, maybe another couple of people start, that is the whole man in the hill thing again. As soon as one guy starts dancing, everybody starts to join in.
100 monkey, innit?
Yeah. So
I think it's a good time to do it now too, because it is, flat Earth is starting to pop up in the news. It's with the basketball players and Eddie Bravo and all that stuff. But yeah,
it makes it socially acceptable. Increases that again a wee bit. So it would be a great time while it's fresh on everybody's mind. But I can foresee that it's going to continue. Spyro, I don't think it'll be too long before Ikey Boy and Jones are talking about it. Once they get the nod, we'll see. Listen, guys, sorry, I need to run to the toilet. With 2 seconds.
Karen, what's with the sun thing, Karen? What's the measurable thing? I'm sorry, I missed.
Okay, we're doing a sun tracking event, and we're doing it on the equinox because of the sun being in the middle of its path. It's the center of the path during the equinox. So that's when we're taking the measurements, and everybody on different parts of Earth are taking these measurements. And then what we do is we compare that information to what mainstream science gives us, which is, SunCalc, their measurements of the azimuth and the elevation, and then we compare it. And knowing how fast the sun moves across the sky, about 1,000 miles per hour, and how many degrees it's off. Like I was explaining earlier, it's my measurements yesterday were off by 6 degrees. So there's a math formula you can do that tells you basically, how many miles it's off. So when the sun is, giving you solar noon versus when they tell you it is, you can kind of get an idea of where you really are versus where they tell you they are.
Yeah. So what's the best time to take that measurement?
Solar noon. Solar noon, which is it's never actually on standard time noon. Actually, when I did it yesterday, it was 1:18 p.m. and that was solar noon for my area.
I don't know whether you'll understand this or you'll get this concept, but at solar noon here in Liverpool, when I look at the sun and the difference between winter and summer, it seems like the sun.
Mm-hmm.
An Indy car track that bends like this, where the car rides high on the wall. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah,
the centrifugal force.
It seems like when we look at noon, that in the winter the sun is further away, but it's like higher up.
Oh, wall. Yes.
That's what it feels like here, because you look at you get it from the shadows of the house and the garden, and you see it in the summer, and it's here, and then you see it in the winter, but it seems like it's gone up there, but not that way, more up further away, but up like this. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. I have this window that sits right here, and the front of my house faces north, so I always see the sun coming across my window this way. And in the wintertime, okay, let me make sure I say this right, but yeah, there is a difference in where the sun is coming in the window.
Yeah.
It's lower. Isn't it lower? It's lower in the winter and then it's higher in the summer. That's what it is, right?
Yeah. But something has to be happening there, doesn't it? If it's lower in the winter and higher in the summer, because it's warmer in the summer. The than what it is in the winter, but it's closer, isn't it? That's what I'm saying. If it's going around that circle, it's closer in the winter and further away in the winter.
Right.
But I remember having this discussion with someone. He was saying it's closer in the winter. Well, why is it warmer in the summer and not in the winter? So you understand what I mean?
Yeah, they say it's because of the tilt.
The tilt of the thing, but it doesn't add up in the measurements of it.
Well, I mean, the difference in the tilt is what, like, it comes out to be like 6,000 miles or something out of like 93 million miles. Like, it's nothing.
Here's the thing: if you take a magnifying lens and you put it right down on the Earth when the sun's out, it's not the focus of the heat is not as intense if you start to pull the magnifying glass away. Right. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that makes sense, but if there's some sort of lensing thing happening, who knows?
Yeah, it's closer, isn't it? Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
That's the whole problem for me. Not to put a dampener on the whole sun tracking thing, but again, we've got the issue of what is actually happening. It'll be great to get the observations and see where the anomalies are, but again, we're left with the same questions. What is this?
What is it?
Yeah, that's fair. Exactly. I mean, we don't know what the sun is. I don't know what it is. We don't know if what we're seeing is the actual source of light or if it's some sort of projection and the source is somewhere else. I mean, we don't know.
Just as I said, a lens effect, So.
Yeah, but we're not, but that's why we do stuff like this, because we need to figure it out. Maybe we don't know what we're going to find out from all these observations, but I mean, that's how you find stuff out. You go get information and you look at it, and what does it tell you?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's skin in the onion, innit? You got to take it layer by layer, and first you got to take the measurements, and I think it'd be nice to know what it is, but I think what Karen's doing is important to get through to that level, find out them differences and the anomalies in the measurements.
Exactly, that's it, and I encourage that. It's just when you get these sophists who want to come and claim they know, what things are and exactly what's going on. And, I'm not accepting that. But people who are genuine, who want to, research and find out what's going on, of course.
Yeah, but I think your work, in my opinion, your work over the last 3 months is kind of putting paid to that now of me coming on here and saying, I believe this. It's like, what do you believe? Well, where's your proof? And I think that's seeping through to the whole thing now, where people are a bit more not so keen to come on and go, hey, I believe this. Well, why? Well, because it says here in this book, in this document, well, by the way, this is a text that was written on stone, and it was like, it's been dated. It says here that this fella walked across water. That's my proof. Now you behave yourself. It doesn't add up. That doesn't add up, does it no more? And I think, your work over the last 3 months and the natural stuff, it's like people are getting that now, that, you've got to have a little bit more than the written word. Books written by man, for man.
We need common sense. We need to base things on, empirical facts rather than hearsay.
Common sense is not taught in school. You've got to have a little bit more than the written word. Books written by man, for man.
The realists are muted you there. If you're watching on YouTube, you have to mute the sound on the YouTube video. I'll try that. Yeah. And why does it never give me the option to unmute again once I've done that? I don't get that.
You might have to unmute yourself, realist. If you're not familiar, is a button by where your icon is. You might have to unmute yourself, realist.
How's that?
Yeah, bye.
You've still got a playback running on your video, dude. So where your icon is. If you can mute that, then we're all good.
How's that? I've closed YouTube.
There you go, mate. Okay, you're all good to go.
Right, sorry, the realist, I've got another problem here. I clicked your screen and now it's staying on me when I speak. Does anybody know how to switch it so that it flips between people?
Click your screen again, though. It should unlock.
So speak.
How do you do?
Yeah, nice one. How are you, man?
I'm all right, Del. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good.
Don't want to change the subject on people, but what I wanted to mention, has anyone else looked into flight and landings?
The runway never moves.
Correct, mate. Correct. Because if a pilot has to line up from, let's say, 20 miles out, then therefore he should be lining east of the runway to allow for the fucking runway that's moving with the planet, so that by the time he gets to it, it's straight.
But that's where they shoot themselves in the foot, because they use the Coriolis effect for bullets, and they say we use that, but the airplanes don't use that, so it contradicts itself. It shoots itself in the foot. If you're using it to shoot because the Earth's moving, moving, and they're making videos about explaining it. And yet these planes are coming into land, and the runways are staying straight. The runways should be coming off, but it doesn't.
Yeah, it should be turning west to east, shouldn't it?
So it's a slam dunk. It's boom, gone, isn't it?
Yeah, no plane would be able to land.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's ridiculous.
The list is endless, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the more people start to think, the more people that get involved, the more minds that are on it. You start to see all these wee things creeping up everywhere, even things that we're overlooking right now. You know.
Yeah.
As I say, I felt that was a valid point earlier with the whole crust and this layer of ocean on the crust, and you know.
Yeah. Can you imagine the actual weight, the mass density of weight forcing down? Just ridiculous. It's uncalculable, isn't it? There's no way it wouldn't find a fucking hole.
No.
But I've got to say, about 8 years ago, I started looking into the monetary system. I have a problem not just with flat Earth, but a whole host of things, whether it be vaccines, whether it be cancer, whether there's a list. And my wife said to me about 2 years ago, do you know something? She said, I've had enough of you. She said, I think you need help. So she said, I'm going to take you to the doctors and you can tell them all this that's going on. I said, with fucking pleasure, because I want to argue with her. I said, you think it's going to help anyone? Anyway, long story short, she's now waking up and the kids now love the dad again.
You know, that's there's so many things went on. I just try and keep it to one subject. There's people who focus on their individual subjects, you know, whether it be vaccines, whatever they're working on. But it's funny, you know. Sorry.
It's just the point is that until you open your eyes on a certain aspect, then only do you then start looking at everything else in a different light, don't you?
Yeah. The whole method applies to every aspect of our lives now. You know, what are we basing beliefs on? What do we take for granted? Are we really thinking critically about things that are important? You know, what is, if you instill that in people, then you know every conspiracy or corruption is going to start to fold and crumble, because you know people become transparent. People are critical in their thought. They have the tools they need, and you're not going to get away with telling lies. You know.
Yeah.
Guys, I just want to say thanks very much for having me on. I'm going to shoot off. Del, well done, mate. Keep up the good work. Karen, good luck. Team, good job. The realists, yeah, man. All the best. All the best to everyone listening. Loads of activism to come. Thanks very much.
Excellent, man. Look forward to it.
See you soon.
Cheers, man.
Thank you.
Cheers. That was mindfulness. People check the channel out. So I got what I was saying. You know, some of the other subjects amazing. Even you know, I remember speaking to a paediatrician, and you know, they're wanting to give these injections, and you ask very simple questions. I remember asking him, you know, what is this about? Oh, well, you know, 1 in 33,000 children could have this deficiency. And so I would say, you know, do you think then, you know, 1 in 30,000, that justifies you injecting every single child? And blah, 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 blah. And then I'll say, well, what's actually in this? And then they start to really stumble.
Yeah. Most people don't even know, do they?
So you've got this guy standing in front of you with this fucking needle and a syringe, right, ready to stick it into your child, and you're asking him what's in that, and he doesn't have a fucking clue.
Correct.
Well, I'll get the manual. I'll get the fucking the bottle instructions or whatever with the ingredients in it. I'm looking at them saying, but you don't know, because if you know, your responsibility to me really should be, well, I need to take responsibility. I'm injecting newborn children with something, right? So I better make sure I know what the fuck's going on here, you know, because I don't want to be responsible for anything that's going to happen, you know. But they don't even have that attitude to know what it is they're actually putting into your kid.
No.
So something seriously wrong with that, as far as I'm concerned, you know. And then you're to be asked as a parent who's trying to take responsibility just to trust that, you know. It doesn't work like that for me, you know.
I've actually sent the list from CDC that lists the ingredients in the vaccines to people, and they still, well, it's got to be for the better. It's, you know, they wouldn't do it for nothing. I'm saying, well, hang on a minute. If you were in a laboratory, these fucking ingredients would have an X marks the spot on the bottle of skull and crossbones. And if you started feeding it your kids, eventually they're going to die. It's just common sense, isn't it? And it's, as you say, you've got to weigh up the pros and cons. If you go into a place where you're expecting to get bitten, then you have a bloody rabies jab or what. But it's all relevant. Now there's just that many, isn't there?
Yeah, that's it. You know, I don't want to digress into that one of the particular subjects, because that's not what I'm about here. But you know, the same thing applies to these aspects of your life when you're looking at it. You know, what gets pushed here, and that critical thought, natural science, understanding, being responsible. Just apply it to these things, and don't go to conspiracy guys and gurus to tell you. Just apply the same thing in every aspect. Stop looking to these people. You know?
Yeah. Another on your water, Del. You think about it. If your car's outside and it's raining, you then get in your car and you blast down the road, and all the water goes up your window screen and over your car, doesn't it? Blows off.
Yeah.
The atmosphere blows it off. Yet people think you can have water sat round a fucking bowl. Well, if you spin that fucking mass, can you imagine what the surface of the planet would look like? It'd be a washout, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
There would be no surface. It'd just be a washout. You're turning a physical object within the water.
Well,
It ain't going to stick to it.
No, it would all be rushing to the equator.
It'd just be a mess. It'd be like a tsunami all over.
Yeah, it's just nonsense. It's ridiculous. You know, you try and entertain it now, and your mind's just like, no chance. Get that away from me.
Yeah,
it's too nonsensical and idiotic to even entertain. You know, but it's so simplistic that it's that hard for people to grasp. You know, when you say, "Oh, you know, the place is covered." Everybody accepts that the place is covered in the water. We know how it behaves. Even when you go to these people and they talk about it, their diagrams are based on square, you know, rectangular images. You know, showing how the water's housed and how levels work.
Yeah.
You know, they're never showing you on a curve. You know, it's nonsense. But
the other ones, stop swearing. How do you contain an atmosphere within a vacuum? As you say, where's the separation? It's impossible, isn't it?
Yeah.
How does a rocket engine run in a vacuum? How? Impossible. It's just. But when you talk to people, and you can, like Eric Dubé, you can go through that list. You know, 200 there. It could probably become 2,000 the way you're going. But you can give that list to people, and there's that cognitive dissonance, isn't there? That it doesn't matter. There's just that shut off, that horror. You're a fucking idiot for even discussing it. And how do you break that with people? Well, that's the slow thing that you're doing, isn't it?
That's it. And again, you know, it's having to turn the tables on people and say, well, you know, I embraced science, you know, and that's why it was so strong for me. And I knew, you know, to trust what reality actually is. You know, so people think science. That's part of the I would suggest to have that in your repertoire, is to point out to science, you know, when you're just talking to people, you know, and maybe say to them, do you understand science, formal, social, natural? You know, we can't just lump it all together. We need to establish what science we're actually talking about, you know, so that their claims must meet that criteria.
But facts don't mean anything in today's world, do they?
No.
It's all Hollywood and Disneyland.
Yeah. So that's it. And if you just go in with a conspiratorial mind and you know, you're not coming from that kind of scientific basis, then you probably will encounter problems. But the majority of people have been fed this mantra of science is God, it knows all.
Yeah.
You know? So if you tear into that and, you know, and call them on it, call their bluff on it and say, right, of course, we're going to use real science here, and then we're going to look at your claims, and I'm going to show you why they're religious, you know, because they're not falling into the category of natural science. All your claims must fit the criteria, you know what I mean?
Exactly. But I love your stuff, mate. I love the fact you got big cojones. I'm going to call you the Highlander from now.
There can be only one.
Keep giving it out, mate, and it's been good to talk to you, and I'll be back.
Nice one. Appreciate it, man.
Take care, mate.
Easy. So, as I say, I wasn't planning on being a long one. Is anybody else coming to speak?
I think there's one link out that hasn't connected, Del, and I've offered the link out. I've offered the mail address again to people if they're interested. Obviously, if nobody's in the mood today, then we can wrap up. Yeah.
So what do you think, Karen, about the whole Eddie Bravo and, you know, these characters coming out and mentioning it now?
Oh yeah, I don't know. Eddie Bravo isn't somebody that I see a lot of people taking seriously. No. You know, it's kind of like along the lines of Tila Tequila, you know, coming out and saying the earth is flat. I just don't see people taking him seriously, although, you know, you never know. Somebody might look into it because of hearing him talk about it, and that's a good thing. Yeah. But I think overall it's I mean, just bringing Alex Jones into it and InfoWars, I mean, because Alex Jones is he's like a cartoon character.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, he's not a real person. That's not how real people, you know, I don't know anybody who really behaves like that in real world. You know, it's these people on TV, they're just characters. They're, you know, it's just,
it's entertainment.
It's entertainment. And it just seems like another way for them to kind of steer it in the direction they want it to go, to kind of make a joke out of it.
If that's the case, or whether they want it released but want to steer it where to go.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get past that issue. You know, keep giving it publicity, making it socially acceptable to talk about. If you really wanted it hushed, just wouldn't get any airtime at all. You know, presidents wouldn't be mentioning it.
Right.
So,
well, and I think that's really important by it kind of makes what you're doing more important. And it's why I want to do it, is to go out and actually talk to people about it, because it's one thing to see it on TV and you see somebody making a joke and, oh, why don't we fall off the edge? And you're stupid. That's the dumbest thing you've ever said. I mean, the things that they're saying to each other back and forth, that's not real life. It's like when you talk to people, like that's real life. Or if I go talk to somebody, that's real. That face-to-face interaction, when you can look somebody in the eye and you can show them that, you're not an idiot, you're not stupid, you're really asking questions that need to be asked, and they're questions that people haven't thought to ask. Like, I never considered asking a lot of these questions for 35 years. It's like and once I started asking these questions, I was like, why didn't I ask these questions before? How could I have been so stupid? You feel foolish. I felt foolish. And so now that we're asking all these questions, and some of them have answers and some of them don't, and some of them have answers that are completely contradictory to what mainstream science tells you, and people need to be aware of that, and they're not going to get it from Eddie Bravo, they're going to get it from people in real life. It's like, I talk to people that I know in real life about it, a couple of the closest people to me, and the only reason that they consider it is because they know me already. They know me as a person already, and they know that I'm not stupid, Like I wouldn't just be talking about this stuff or interested in this stuff if there was nothing to it, because I've looked into other conspiracies or other things, and there's no depth behind it. So that stuff kind of falls away to the wayside. But this, is definitely has something behind it. There's definitely something going on. We're not being told the truth about where we live. And so we all need to be asking questions, and we need to be telling other people to be asking questions, and we need to hit that critical mass. We need everybody to stop pointing at each other and telling everybody else how stupid you are. And we all need to turn around and point that finger back at the powers that be and say, you know what? You're lying to us, and we know you're lying to us. And now it's time for you to tell us the truth.
Exactly. Focused attention in the right place instead of on each other.
That's right.
Telling each other what to do, telling each other what not to do. If we all have a common understanding that there's something not right and we need these questions answered, it's pointless us all looking at each other. We are not the ones with the power to answer that question. We don't control the militaries. We have no sway with any of that. So people's attitudes just need to be united. As I said before, we don't have to like each other, or get along, but we need to, if we're agreeing that we have a common goal and question, and that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
So the kumbaya and we all must get along. Forget all that stuff.
Right. Right.
It's people think we're going to open up utopia or whatever their version of that is, and it's not the case.
Yeah. Well, I mean, clearly the way things are set up aren't working out for us. It's working out for somebody, and it ain't us. So, it's time to shake it up,
Of course. Yeah, that's my point. If we have to live here and this is where we're meant to be and we're stuck here, whatever, it's an absolute nonsense to think that we have to pay to live, and that we're stuck in this dead end system that kills creativity, and individuality. It's nonsense.
Definitely. I mean, just look at the school system. They're taking the music out of schools, the art classes out of schools, and the Common Core. I mean, here in the America, I don't know how it is over there, but the way that they've just kind of keep breaking down the education system, and they keep implementing these things that are supposed to make it better. No child left behind, but it's completely counterproductive.
Yeah, it's just a rigid structure that they want. It's not catered for individuals, and individual needs. There's loads of problems with it, but for again these things would have to be addressed if we establish that we are stuck in here, whatever here is, and this is where we're meant to be. But for me, the questions are come after we establish where we are.
Yeah, I agree, because how do you know where you're going if you don't know where you started? Type of thing. Exactly. You don't know where you're starting from. No. So how are you going to know where you're going? And how come we're the only creatures on Earth that pay to live here?
Yeah.
You know, why was I born here, but I have to pay to live here?
Yeah.
And who am I paying? And why is it so expensive? And why does the price keep going up? You know?
If we're stuck in here, and it should be a fucking theme park of fun, individuality and creativity everywhere you walk, and an pure expression. I don't know why people are scared of that. If we end it, it turns out that this is where we are and we're stuck here, then I don't know why it can't be that way. Never understood why it couldn't be that way.
Yeah, I don't either.
So, going back to the Alex Jones thing, I don't know if you remember, I think it was last year, a year and a half ago, he done one where he was, I think it was sitting in an office, and he stated, if the mainstream media starts to tell me that the world's round, then I might question it. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I'm sitting going, that's what they say.
Yeah.
Right away I'm going, right, wait a minute, is he already been preempted? There's going to become a time in the future when he'll get a nod, to start talking about this, because it just didn't make sense when he made that statement,
Yeah.
But we'll see. Be interesting times either way.
Fascinating times. Yeah. It's funny because for a long time, when I was very young and I was a teenager and I was very, I had the teen angst thing going on, and I was like, I was born in the wrong place and I don't belong here and I don't fit in and I don't understand why. And I'll tell you what, when I found out about Flat Earth, all those feelings from the past came forward, and I was like, that's why. That's why.
Yeah.
They have lied to us about where we live, and by doing that, they have kind of set this foundation where you have a complete disconnect, emotionally or spiritually or whatever, however you want to describe it. You have a complete disconnect from the very beginning because you don't know where you are, and you don't know, your true potential. You don't know the true potential of us as people or what you're capable of. You don't know any of that stuff because they don't tell you. And the only way you're going to know is, like you said, finding out, where you are and what your true connection to this realm is.
Yeah, that's it. It's funny you talking about that, when you're thinking about the past, and I'm sure you went through it many times in your life where you're thinking, why, you're saying it, why am I not fitting in? And you made an effort to try and somehow fit in, and when you come to that realisation, you go, of course, you always knew that wasn't right, what's going on here? I'm trying to mould myself to something that's not right. I don't know what's not right about it, but as you say, when you have that revelation, you see it clearer. People don't have a foundation. It's rooted in nonsense, and they take these delusions, these cultural programmings, these ideas of what life should be, who you should be, what you can achieve, your limitations, and then they start to mould themselves to accept it and become it, and it never fitted for me. It just never sat right at all.
Yeah, the rat race, the consumerism, the everybody being trained to kind of just gain like their social status or their financial status, like as if that really means something. And it doesn't. No, doesn't mean anything,
That means absolutely nothing, But that's what people have bought, and that's what the problem is. So it's hugely important for us to establish what the foundations are. We need it, or everything that you tell yourself about your life is rooted in nothing. It is just a delusion, and your whole life will be an illusion, Absolutely nothing meaningful to it at all. Although your experiences and your emotions might be real and meaningful, they're still not rooted in anything true, Yeah,
so, it's like that. Maybe that's the simulation. Everybody thinks, oh, are we living in a simulation? Well, kind of. We're living in a simulation that they kind of set up before us. They kind of put in front of us to hide from us what reality really is.
That's it. I was saying that to Gavin that earlier, and I put it in a previous video because, you heard people talk about Project Bluebeam and all these things, and you're going, no, well, if you're talking about that, it's not like something that's going to happen and you're knowing about it before it already has happened. And for me, it is the globe. It's that projection of a false image into your mind, setting a false foundation. That is the Project Bluebeam. It's right there. It's happened, and now you're starting to wake up from that. So people are expecting holograms in the sky. No, it's a bit more sophisticated than that. It's been projected directly into your mind, through suggestion, programming.
Yeah, I remember years ago, I was watching TV and I saw a television commercial for a bar of soap, or it was a soap commercial. And in the lower right-hand corner, a little bar of soap popped up for just a split second, and it said "Believe" on the bar of soap. It was like there was a glitch in the frames per second. It wasn't, I don't know, but something happened. But for just that second, a bar of soap popped up, said "believe" on it, and my friend saw it too, and we both looked at each other. We're like, "Did you see that shit?" You know, I mean, and that was, gosh, like 15, 16 years ago. So, you know, and now they've forced everybody onto this digital platform for TVs. Like, you can't use the antenna anymore. Everybody's got to be on digital, and it's like, well, why? Why are they forcing everybody into this?
Exactly.
To make it easier for them to project, you know, these images subconsciously into your mind. So, you know, I stopped watching television. I don't have any interest. I don't care what's on. I don't have any interest in watching television anymore, because who knows what they're putting in that crap, you know?
Exactly. And that again, you know, that, to highlight that, we have that total disconnect with the technology and our serious lack of understanding on how actually it operates, you know? You say to people at the time, even a mobile phone today, you know, with thousands of songs, the capability to capture reality in real time, to send it across to you, across the pond, that you can then see in real time, and, you know, what's happening right now. But we don't even understand how this is functioning. You know, we know how to operate it, you know, how to use it, but we don't understand it. And I've tried to, you know, go a bit deeper, and hopefully somebody can point me in the direction of understanding how these technologies that we use do actually function, you know, what the mechanisms are, and what's actually going on, the full mechanics of it. As I say, even when you go and you try and find out about how records, LPs were made, you know, and they'll explain, but there's still these missing bits in between that, you know, what is actually going on. You know, they just show you the components and give you a rough explanation of what's happening. Don't really get into detail, and you can't really find it anywhere. But I think there's again, you know, there's things there that we're just overlooking. You know, we don't understand it could be used against us, as you say. You know, by putting these images in, frequencies being used, things that we're just not aware of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how much time you spend on Facebook, but there's, you know, one that goes around that talks about, you know, Google this patent number, and it's a patent. It's basically a patent for transmitting images subconsciously through the television to people, and it has little diagrams set up. You know, there's a woman there, and she's in front of the TV, and it shows the images, and I mean, it's like right there for you. It tells you that they do it, you know, and they made it legal for the media to lie, or the government to lie to you, you know. So
that's it, because people forget when they watch the TV, even the news will be classed as non-factual entertainment, you know, because that's what the TV is, and it's just full of actors and characters, you know. And that's probably how they get around it, you know. They don't have to, you know, declare that it's just for entertainment purposes or not true, you know, unless it's something that's directed directly at some, you know, an individual, then, you know, they've got slander issues and stuff, but they don't have to, they're not having to tell you the truth. And that's the problem, you know, people should stop relying on it for any sort of truth, just switch it off and cut the power right away. That's
right, I agree.
And if you are watching it, you know, be selective.
Yeah.
There's that.
Yep.
So, just going to, Marshall, is there anybody coming into chat?
Nobody's mailing for the link as of now, Dom. So
No. Well, I'll have a wee look in the chat. Karen, I'm not going to stay on long, as I say, it was just to make that wee point.
Yeah.
Get a quick chat, you know. So appreciate you coming on as always. I look forward to seeing what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, me too. I mean, you know, we'll be collecting data for a couple days, and then we'll have to go through it all. But yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, cool. And I look forward to some street stuff, hopefully in the future as well.
Yeah. I got to get my stuff together, but I definitely am going to do that.
Excellent, cool. Well, cheers, Carl. Appreciate it.
Right. Yeah, it was nice talking to you.
Cool, anytime. Who's in chat here?
So after that, it's just stay here. Two of the people asking for the link now. So do you want me to fire that again, or do you want to wrap up?
What time are we on?
4:00.
That's fine. Yeah, I'll sit if somebody wants to come in.
Okay,
Sorry, Karen, just hang about if you want. I thought there was nobody coming in to speak, so.
Well, I can hang up and let somebody else come on.
Oh, but hang about by all means if you want. You can stay in chat. I just thought, you know, there was nobody coming on. So,
yeah.
Cool.
Is somebody else coming on? I saw the Morgile in chat. He should come on.
Yep. Aye, more than welcome. I'm just going to grab a wee smoke for 2 seconds.
Sorry for the dead air, Karen. I'm a little bit distracted dealing with the admin here. RJ, the link's been sent out to you.
Oh, look, Morgile says he can come on.
What's happening?
Morgul's asking for the link as well. The system we've got here, Morgul, is you just need to fire an email to the address I've just posted, and I'll mail you back with the Hangout link. Might seem a bit messy for you lads, but it works for us.
Cool.
That RJ should be on his way in. I think Morgul should be sending me a mail about now. So,
cool. Sorry, who we get? Who's coming?
RJ. We don't know. No. And Jibby Jedi is also asking for a link as well. So I'll paste this out. I'll send you a link in about 5 to Jibby. Okay, I'll be quiet now, Del.
No, carry on.
Don't make me fill airtime, man. You know how bad I am.
So Del, you have kids, right?
Yeah.
And how old are they?
The two youngest boys are 5 months and 4. My daughters are 10 and 15. One's about to turn 16.
Oh wow. And do you tell them that the Earth is flat?
Well, and still critical thought, let them come to their own decisions. So it wouldn't be right for me to tell them it's this way or that way and just believe me, I'd be a total hypocrite.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I do with mine. Because they obviously learn about the globe, but I also, tell them the other side of it and ask them what they think. But for now, I don't think they believe me. They're not hip to the flat Earth yet. They think it's silly.
Again, I just used the same methods and took what they were being told. Wouldn't say, "Well, here I'm going to tell you something." I'll just say, "Let's look at what they're telling you," and then again we'll just go through it, we'll question it, and you can see the absurdities quite clearly. Without me having to say anything, point them out, or make a point of it. You can just through it, and they see it themselves. So. That's
a whole another experiment in and of itself, isn't it? Yeah. Kids growing up with both sides of the information, because we didn't have that luxury. Nobody gave us a choice.
No,
it was Earth's a globe, and if you think the Earth's flat, you're stupid.
Yeah. And don't ask questions,
Right. Right.
Or you'll be up at the desk outside the classroom,
Mm-hmm. So. I've been trying to find this book my son came home with from school. He came home with this book. It was like a Dr. Seuss book, and he got it in kindergarten, and it had the globe on it, and it was all about how the Earth's a globe and the solar system. And I was like, wow, they don't waste any time. I don't exactly remember when I learned about it, but it's probably because it was in the very beginning.
Wow. Yeah. They don't wait.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, John. How are you doing?
Great, man. Hey.
Hi, John.
Hello. Great show, guys. I was just sitting here enjoying myself, and I can't turn down a flat Earth chat ever.
Right. You don't get very much opportunities to speak to other flat earthers. That's why I started coming on Hangouts, because I was like, I wanted to talk to people where that whole premise of whether or not the what's real and what's not is kind of gone. That first layer has already been stripped away. So you can just kind of say, well, I don't have to worry about what I'm going to say or if they're going to think I'm crazy, because they're already on the same page as far as that goes.
Well, and that's the beautiful thing about it. Although sometimes I feel like it's sort of turning the other way to where, really, you do sort of have to be restrictive and reserved about what you say, because frankly, if you're claiming flat Earth, people are going to pick apart every little detail of what you say and try to argue semantics. And I don't know, it just seems like that's exactly what got us into this mess in the first place, is, the dogma of science and it not being questioned and being ridiculed and relationships ending for, flat Earth, globe Earth discussion. But yeah, at the end of the day, it really is such an obvious thing. And, I love the way Del put it so many times. We're not debating this. You can't debate reality. You observe things, and it either is one way or it's another way. It's not debatable, right?
No, there is only one truth.
Yeah.
There's only one objective reality. So
I thought about doing this sort of thing you're doing, and it takes some cojones, that's for sure, to get out there in front of real people that are right in front of you, as opposed to having sort of the anonymity of the internet, which is sort of nice. But at the same time, I think I would probably do it, especially after watching you do it. You do such an excellent job with it. I just need a great cameraman like you've got and a decent camera.
That's it. John's great. But even just if you've got a camera phone, anybody can do it. At any given time, if the opportunity arises. prizes, get it on a camera phone, get it uploaded, whatever. But it is a lot easier though when you have, somebody operating the camera and you're not having to focus and stuff like that. You can get more engaged with people. So it's definitely a positive, and I would encourage it if it's possible.
Yeah, and you were mentioning towards the beginning of the show, I think, I reckon I got on towards the beginning about the water tables, and you've got deep underground water, but that's a good point. At what point does water stop leaking? And from what I gather, there's a sort of a cycle, and this is it, whether the Earth is a globe or whether it's a plane. Apparently, once you get to a certain depth, you're going to run into molten lava, apparently, at least in certain places. And so when water gets to a certain depth in these cracks and crevices, water's always going to find its way down for whatever reason. But then eventually, apparently it gets heated and comes back up as really, really cold water due to the, I guess, depressurization, I guess would be, or pressurization one. It comes out in springs as rather cold. But at the same time, you've got an excellent point that, the core of the Earth, this is something that's sort of preached in classes, but we have really no idea what's lower than about 8 miles, according to whatever the Russians did back in the 80s. And other than that, I don't think anyone's gone much deeper than that.
No.
Conjecture.
That's it. The whole point was just to raise a question on, the claims that they make about this mantle and the depth of it and how deep they claim the ocean is, and why is it not draining through. But, I just don't believe any of their explanations, to be honest with you.
Well, and the thing is, too, is it's as if people assume that certain things are only possible on a spinning spherical Earth. Yeah. And that's part of the programming that is just really quite difficult to get around is, every observation. You mentioned the Coriolis effect in terms of cyclones rotating in opposite directions. And, there is an explanation for that other than the Earth is spinning. Yeah. But for some reason, people think that that's exclusive to a sphere. Same thing with tectonic plate movement. If such a thing exists, it certainly works out nicely on a flat Earth. I would say more so than a spherical Earth, really. But it certainly isn't exclusive to a sphere. And it's these sort of things that an intelligent person will see. And if you can get them on those points, like you do, like I said, you do so well at, you'll get people thinking. And I think it's really such a wonderful thing. When you see people, it sort of clicks with them and they get past that cognitive dissonance where they just deny. And you can tell that after talking with you for 20, 25 minutes, they're going to go home and look at this. And frankly, there's no way around getting it. I mean, if you really are true to yourself and true to the data.
That's the whole point. If you are somebody who's true to themselves, you will look at this and there's no escape from it, So that's when you start to see the separation of who the true, intellects are and who the fake ones are,
Another thing too, you mentioned the Coriolis effect for snipers. And, absolutely not. They absolutely do not figure in the spin of the Earth. Now, I have seen some scout sniper handbooks where the Coriolis effect is mentioned, but when you look at the definition of what they're talking about the rifled round is a high velocity gyro, and when it passes through different temperatures and density atmospheres, then apparently, allegedly, according to this book, then the Coriolis effect comes into play. But it absolutely has nothing to do with the spin of the Earth, and that's the sort of thing that we have to be careful of because, obviously, flat Earth is something that a rational, educated person is never going to entertain. It's really quite, I think, a miracle that it's even gotten the traction that it's gotten in the last couple of years because, frankly, people don't believe you, even if you prove it to them and show them, physical evidence that this thing is, the heliocentric model is wrong. It's difficult.
Yeah, that's the thing. For me, it was just formulating it in the most simplistic ways and bringing people back to their common sense. I think that's really important. Some things can sound too sophisticated and they start to think, well, I'm not a scientist. I can't, think about that and deal with it, So for me, in order to get to the common man, I had to just strip it down to the most simple thing that I could,
Yeah, indeed.
Sorry, man. We've got Jibby and RJ. How you doing?
How you doing, guys?
Hey.
Hey, John. How you doing?
Good, man. Good.
It's the first time we've talked, Del. I've been enjoying your shows. All you guys on the panel, excellent work. The numbers reflected, obviously, the watchers that you guys have. You guys are doing a good job. I just want to say keep up the good work.
Thanks, man. Yes, same to yourself.
We're all doing our parts, guys, and we're doing the best we can with what we have to work with. What more can we do, really?
You guys were talking about the Eddie Bravo things, not to interrupt, but one thing that I sort of noticed, and this is sort of goes with Kyrie Irving and Shaquille O'Neal, and I think it's great that they're even talking about flat Earth. Really, I think it's excellent, but at the same time, I agree that they're doing it a disservice by saying, it's not that big of a deal, and you can't really prove it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That just sort of seems to be problematic because it is rather obvious, and the proofs are just, it's everywhere. We've lived on it our whole lives, and that's what really sets this apart from other, so-called conspiracy theories, is they take away all the evidence, and what are you left with but speculation and just so much mud in the water to where it's difficult to discern, what is true, what is, hyperbole, and what is, just a straight up lie. But with the Earth, nobody can ever take that away from us. They, like they did with the Twin Towers, they can't cart that off to China and sell it as scrap. They probably could, or they probably would if they could, but fortunately they can't. And so that's really the best conspiracy, if you want to call it that, or the best theory that there is one that can be tested and proven one way or another conclusively. And it really is funny or sort of humorous to see some of the different reactions that you've gotten. I've seen everything from, incredulity to people really sort of understanding it right off the bat and pretty much everything in between. But, my personal journey, it took me about a week I heard about flat Earth and I said, just like everyone else does, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. What are these people retarded? That was my thoughts. And several months later, I decided to actually look at it for one reason or another. And it took me about a week for that process. So this isn't something that you can really easily just convince somebody of. It's never going to happen. Not in a 20 or even 20-minute or hour-long conversation. It's going to take that individual to decide to actually go through the steps and go through their personal checklist of why they believe the Earth is a sphere. And so I just want to commend you again. I've been watching your channel since I saw some of your work with the street interviews, and I really think it's fantastic because you've captured the reactions, and I want to see more of it. So you better not stop.
There's some more coming. But that was the most important part, as I was saying earlier, it was to capture that real-time reaction, and that's what's interesting to me, to see how people deal with it. But that's all we can do. You can only offer them a seed, and then hope that they go and grow it themselves.
That's just it. You can't prove it in one sitting, but what you want to do is trigger their appetite, curiosity to look into it further. That's really the only way, because they're the only ones who are going to convince themselves,
Exactly. That's it. I said it at the beginning, and it's using the same methods that they use to manipulate people into ignorance. We need to think about that and then employ these same tactics to achieve the opposite. That's what people are susceptible to, and that's the tools that have worked to put them in ignorance. So why not employ them?
Mm-hmm. And I think too, John, what you were saying about all the other conspiracies, how you can't really prove them 100%. There's too many broken paper trails, and there's too many questions about who the source is or what the source is. But with flat Earth, it's like, well, what's your source? Well, you're standing on it.
Yeah. That's the thing with all the other stuff. You're disconnected from it. With this, everybody's connected to it directly. Conspiracy theories that wander off that have no relation to you whatsoever. It's just a rabbit hole. It's a dead end. But with this, everybody can get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really true. I mean, you look at. There's so many conspiracy theories, and that's really a Tavistock Institute, if I'm not mistaken, weaponized term where it's almost used as ammunition against somebody. And for the general public, it works because people have been conditioned to think that conspiracy theory or a conspiracy theorist is I'm getting an echo, sorry, is something that it's something for loonies. And that's exactly what they were banking on. And you see other terms that are sort of weaponized as well, whether it's anti-Semitism and things like that. But it's a concerted effort. And something that
Got it. Sorry, Jack. That Smith, I'm going to mute you. You need to turn the volume on your YouTube that you're watching the Hangout on. You need to turn the volume down.
Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, it's never going away, right? So like JFK, there's conspiracy theories, everything from a guy in the sewer to the guy on the grassy knoll to it was the CIA to it was the mafia to it was a lone gunman. And where's the truth in that? How are you ever going to prove it? Unless somebody comes out and says, I did it. This is never going to happen. 9/11, the first thing they did immediately was, as soon as they got the rubble cooled off, was start carting away the evidence. And so that's, there is no way for them to take this away. And so there are, I guess you could say, just lots of really bizarre theories that get kicked around. And the conversation is often steered way off into left field to where, it's almost as if we're expected to have an answer for everything, whether it's the map or whether it's what are stars made of or, whatever, how far big is the moon and sun. Frankly, we don't need to have answers for all of that. We have to prove curvature or axial rotation. And other than that, that's it. Do what?
I don't see how we can really definitively prove what the floor looks like by studying the ceiling too.
Nonsense. Nonsense.
Are you guys able to hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. How you doing, man?
Not bad, Del and Jonathan. I'm Ben Almas from Ontario, Canada. Here at Darksmith WordPress. I've been following you guys since last December. I spent a lot of my time doing NASA debunking just with friends and colleagues for several years before that, and I hadn't even realized that YouTube was such a platform for this debate. And that's sort of what brought me into the whole flat Earth hypothesis was checking you guys out and the correlations of what NASA was doing and the shape of the Earth. That really hit a chord for me. There have been so many disinformation campaigns when it comes to the NASA and JPL Lockheed when it comes to space that it was a real truth for me originally, and I'm still trying to figure it out. And me and a bunch of my colleagues, especially the ones that don't believe, we're going to be doing a few tests over the summer once we have the money and the equipment to do it, and figure it all out sort of from foundation up.
Yeah.
Reposting others' videos and whatnot is beneficial in getting the word out, but I really want to have my own experiments in there just so that I'm standing on something that is mine as well.
Yeah, and with NASA, that was something that, and I'm not familiar with your work, but I'll check it out. You said you have a WordPress site?
Yeah, it's Darksmith WordPress.
Okay.
Yeah, just check it out. I've been doing a few live, or not live, but just myself recording my voice as I'm talking about my theories and whatnot. So bear with it. I'm not very good at it yet. So I'm not used to talking at a microphone in a computer. So I'm used to talking with people, sitting around the table or whatever, right? So
well, that's good. A lot of that skill is transferred over, so you should have no problem. And in terms of NASA, that was something that I was aware of NASA fakery for years before even being introduced to the concept flat Earth, and even then, it seemed ridiculous. But that's really a big piece of the puzzle: is why would they fake it if they could do it? And
right.
You get people like Dr. Kent Hovind, who I just put out a video on a couple days ago, who, as far as I know, he used to believe NASA's footage. Now he agrees that the footage is faked, probably in a studio for the moon landings. However, they still went to the moon. But, that's sort of halfway there, because once you understand that NASA is faking pretty much everything, then, it's not that big of a leap, because really, what do we have to go by to say that the Earth is a sphere other than the pictures from NASA? It's nothing
right.
observable. hole. We certainly don't feel the
Exactly.
supersonic axial rotation.
No, we feel nothing, and we experience none of it. So that's what we're left with, like you said. And the problem with that also is we have this history. Like there are archives for all of the major military corporations that provide video and photo evidence of their technology being built on the ground. But there's absolutely there is not a single shred of evidence of what's in orbit, and that's what my hang up has always been. There is no orbit, obviously. I've seen a couple of amateur rocket videos that especially that one. There's a group out of Arizona that did one last summer, and it got up to about 78 miles in altitude, and it stopped dead, and then just came back down. That video was fairly compelling, but the problem is all we have is NASA bullshit to siphon through. And once we come up with what we think is potentially real from NASA, the entire scenario in which they would retrieve that data or information is so far-fetched. And so, like the Voyager 1 and 2, 1972 and 74, 73 and 74. Now, they claimed they landed the second Voyager and actually retrieved Mars sample with that. And that was in 1974 or 1977 when it finally arrived. That's complete poppycock. That's malarkey. Like, and there's no proof of it. The moon rock, this is what I don't understand. When Denmark, when the BBC did the article, and it was only a single article on the fake moon rock, the Dutch moon rock that was fake.
Right.
NASA went around to all of the other museums and retrieved it took them about 18 months, but none of them have any evidence now to even speculate on when it comes to it. So it was a massive cover up. They obviously went nowhere in the 60s and the 70s. And that brings me the STS missions. I don't believe a single astronaut has ever been on a launch during a launch of the STS missions. They're complete malarkey, and they don't answer any real questions when it comes to it. Everything is left in the past. Diversion of attention through new finds, through new sciences that they're putting out, but nothing that brings us back to where is the foundation science and proof from 50 years ago, let alone today. So
funny how all those videos from NASA and all the photographs, they lost like tons of information or something. How does a company with such security lose all those videos? Something like 11,000 hours of video.
Yeah, they recorded over the telemetry data too, allegedly.
Unreal.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like to go from having a room full of verifiable data to having nothing, and them blaming it on the analog to digital conversion, where they had to take the old reel to reel and then put it into new digital format. So if they did that though, where's the digital formats of it?
Right.
This is what idiot,
it went into a paper shredder before it went under the digital format.
Of course. And there are, like, I've been trolled a lot on my site by NASA fantards, whatever you want to call them.
Oh man.
Where they admit, okay, maybe we didn't go to Apollo, or we didn't do the Apollo missions, but the ISS is up there. And Hubble's up there, and that's the point I try to make to everybody. If they faked it in the 60s and 70s, they're not doing anything real on the surface that we can see. Nothing.
I often wonder, those 3 astronauts that burned in that Apollo, the first mission, I wonder if they actually tried to get them up and then they cooked them and then they retrieved them, or if they actually burned on the pad. Because there was something mentioned that if you were in a spaceship and it caught on fire in a dock, wouldn't you at least undo your seatbelt, and all the seatbelts were still latched.
There's a lot of speculation about what happened with Gus Grissom, and of course with Grissom, he was the Neil Armstrong, right? He was the guy that they were grooming to land on the moon, to be the first man to step out, etc. But he was also the most vocal proponent of we're never getting there. Like
the lemon,
wasn't it? Yeah, the hanging the lemon on the capsule for ABC News. He did that. Wasn't it like 60 days before he supposedly died in that accident? Like it was his last. It was his last interview with ABC News, and he basically tells them, "We're not getting there.
You can't even talk from room to room without a line, and you expect to talk to me when we're in space. It just doesn't matter."
Right.
I got into the whole flat Earth thing. I'm Rick from Cape Cod, by the way, Cape Cod, Massachusetts. I got into the whole flat Earth movement back in 2011 when I saw that Matt Boylan comic film where he was telling everybody about you've all seen that one. He's wearing the glasses and smoking the cigarette.
Yeah.
That's the one that got me into it. And ever since then, I was, I didn't want to say anything to anybody, obviously, because I mean, even now when I bring it up on Facebook, I'm attacked, and I don't have you guys' composure. I don't sit there and take it in stride. I actually tell people what I think. And they investigate it for 2 seconds, if that, and they discredit your whole lifetime of the past few years of research.
Right. Well, I have a name for those people. NASA Disney zombie parrots, and that's pretty much all they are. So
it was so natural for me because when I was a kid, I couldn't understand how they said we're in an ever-expanding universe, hurling through space, and I just couldn't. I'm like, well, then why are all the stars lining up year after year? And they could never give me an answer for that.
Right. Now, parallax is their theoreticism answer to it, but it still doesn't. For me, parallax fine, but Polaris is what completely wipes that off the table for me. It's too perfect. It stays in absolute alignment no matter what. And with the motions, we're being told that we're rifling through the galaxy. It's an impossibility.
Yeah, and then they say that the pole star will be Vega in another 14,000 years. How do they know that? There's no movement to base that on. There's no movement.
Here's the thing. Precession of the equinoxes is apparently a documented thing, and the saying goes we're now sort of just entering into the age of Aquarius out of the age of Pisces
today.
Which is
equinox.
There you go. So that's precession of the equinoxes. But if you have this regression of stars, and they say that it's because the angle of the Earth's axis is on a slow wobble, so it takes like 26,000 years for it to do a full one single wobble. And so if that was the case, then the polar axis should be misaligned about 1 degree every 100 years or less. And so technically we should have a new North Star every 50, 100, 200 years at the very most.
Unless it just jumps the page, quick jump. There you are. We're on Vega now. That's impossible.
It doesn't. It doesn't. As far as we can tell, the North Star
that 26,000 year thing is bogus. It has to move like a clock, It doesn't just jump from noon to 5 past.
Right. Well, 26,000 years seems like a long cycle, and it is. But if you break it down to it's about 1 degree every 75 years or something like that. But that would absolutely be noticeable, especially to astronomers who notice the precession of the equinoxes, because that would be far more difficult to notice than frickin' Polaris changing every 100 years. And we got to give astronomers a little bit more credit than that. They would have noticed.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Go ahead.
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Hi.
Chris.
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah, it's quite. It's possible for the North Pole to stay where it is, and for that progression to happen. If it's just the sun that's moving, or the path of the whole heavens is tilted slightly, but the Polaris still stays the same over that 26,000 years. So the sun is going to rise in Aquarius. It is going to rise from Taurus. Used to be. It is going to go to Pisces. Like it's going to go through all these signs, and Polaris is still going to be the center. But they want us to believe that would move. That's the con.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm not buying. That was my point. Now, the guy who runs this show with the hat on there, it's Marco. What is his name? The very first. Yeah. You, yeah. What's your name?
Dale.
Say that again. I can't hear you.
Dale.
Dale?
DEL.
All right, Dale, I got to commend you because I've watched all your videos where you go up to these gentlemen on the street and talk to them. I wish I had your composure of like just the way you calmly present, the facts to the people. And you do a great job. I just wanted to say that, you guys got the gift of gab. I get all tongue tied and frustrated and I start sweating and I just like people like, this guy's whacked out, man, but I don't know. You guys keep it going, man, because you're doing a good job.
Yes, man.
Yeah, Adele, I've tried doing the street interview a couple of months ago. I spent a week doing it, and I found people around here anyway. You start talking about that subject with them, and they notice they're being recorded. So they every time they ask me if I would turn my recorder off. So I've tried to spread the word around here, face to face with people, especially my kids. My middle daughter is in university now, and she's latched on to the little seeds that I planted a few months ago, and she's rolling with it with several of her friends, and asking appropriate questions, that can be answered properly without.
Where you located?
I'm Guelph, Ontario, Canada.
Roger.
Yeah, about 90 kilometers west of Toronto.
Right. I'm on Cape Cod.
I'm just on the east side. I'm just on the east side of Toronto. I'm just east of Toronto. Chris Rock, just east of Toronto.
And, okay, and John, you're are you Washington?
Me? I'm in South Carolina.
You're in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to say something quick to you. That morning that you said I watched one of your videos and you said I just got the strangest call from NASA PR.
Yeah.
And they said your book isn't a good idea.
Wow.
Well, I emailed the PR department about that and talked to Catherine Berlinski there about the apparent threat. I was pretty shocked that they would that some even out of a joke somebody would call you and say that, because the number that had called you was the direct line to NASA's PR department, right?
Yeah. Part of me thinks that it may have been somebody just playing a joke, like, I don't know, cloning the number. That's probably the wrong word to use, but I've been told that can be done. And the caller ID did indeed display that number. And yeah, someone absolutely called me and said, we do not approve of the book, and hung up. But for all I know, and yeah, they had called before too. For all I know, it was a joke. And you would think that NASA would be a little bit, more slick or wily than calling from, they could just hit *67, right? And you mentioned just real quick. You mentioned trying to do street interviews, and I think it's probably easier to do with strangers than family, because you never have to see the strangers again.
I know.
That's an important point. That's an important point that I've said to people before. We have that dynamic with people who think they know you and they have a preconceived idea or an image in their mind of who they think you are, and it's much harder to reach to them, because they're holding you to previous experience and again their preconceived notion of who they think you are. So when you meet strangers, there is none of that. It's just a clean slate, and they're willing to be courteous and respectful. Yep. And it's much easier. And I think one of the easiest things is on the campuses, going into a university campus, when they see a camera and you're asking them for an interview, they seem to be more receptive. I don't know if because they want to help people who they think are maybe taking part in projects within the campus as well.
Right.
It seems to be you get a lot easier reception in a campus than out in the street. Obviously, because there's a lot more people in the street as well, though. But the campus is great.
Over here in America, if you go out on the campus with a camera, you don't belong there. They're gonna arrest your ass. You're not free country.
Even if you know there's like student gathering points or
bus stop or something.
Yeah, the one in Edinburgh was a huge park that's at the back of the university in Edinburgh. So you've got a lot of traffic, student traffic and stuff coming in and out of there. So you don't actually have to go in the campus,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
If you want to strike up a conversation with somebody, just put on a flat earth shirt.
Yeah, I got to get one. There you go.
Yeah, and they'll
Where'd you get
approach you. What's that?
You know, I wanted to buy one of Bowen's, but he wants $49 for it. Man,
Yeah.
I can't afford that.
They're not cheap, depending on the quality.
Yeah, I told my Uber driver one time about flat Earth. He thought I was crazy, bro.
Right?
That's what I'm saying. It's you're never going to convince anybody, but you can potentially plant the seeds that they.
That's what I think is the right idea, is to plant the seed, man. I really do, because I think I overdo it and just, but that's hard to say.
Yeah, passion tends to take over sometimes when you're talking about something that you truly believe in, and you're faced with with drones. You want to try and wake up out of it.
My biggest thing I do is I tell them, look, that for thousands and thousands of years they thought the Earth was flat. It's only been, the theory of the globe is only 484 years old, going by the 1533. And they couldn't prove it until 1933 when Picard went up. Was that the deal?
Yeah, and he said it was flat.
Right?
Yeah,
and
Picard said it was flat.
And all that, if there was more land, which is the theory I think, is that there's more land beyond that they don't want anyone to find, but globe would totally annihilate that possibility.
Yeah,
right.
Picard said he described it as like a disc around him, and to me that is the the horizon. When you're up that high, it's going to be an equidistant circle all around you at eye level, and so that where it terminates, it appears as if you've got space at the edge of the Earth. But of course, that's just merely the horizon, and I think that there is more evidence to support the idea of a more land beyond this southern area, or even possibly an infinite amount of land, than there is to support the idea of an enclosed world in a dome. And
right.
The main thing that right. gets me to thinking that way is the motive for the lie, the motive for the Antarctic Treaty, and the motive for this long running deception. Why would they hide or why would they barricade off a natural barricade? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Right. Right. Well, the Antarctic Treaty is it is definitely there for to hide whatever they wish behind it, and the new revisions to the treaty as of when was it? 4 months ago, where they added to the mandate of the treaty, and they added several other UN countries and their navies, and it's militarized. Antarctica is a militarized area that it's very difficult to be able to have any free reign. If you do go, like everybody knows, it's a guided tour every time, and they take you where they want you to go. Even the South Pole bullshit, where they take you to the pole, and if you pull your compass out, well, you're not really at the pole. Of course you're not, because in my opinion, when it comes to compasses, the compass only points north, and there's no southern pole compass that right. can be used to find exactly where the South Pole is, and that says a lot to me. So,
well, right. One of the arguments we get against this idea, because first of all, the militarization of the Antarctic is against the Antarctic Treaty for one thing, so they're violating it just by simply being there.
Right.
But you get people that say, well, look at the AE projection, the azimuthal equidistant projection, and it appears as if the circumference is some hundreds of thousands of miles, which that is inaccurate because of the very matrix of the AE projection. And so they claim right. It would be impossible for them to police the entire circumference, but quite frankly, they only have to worry about 3 areas, south of Australia, south of Africa, and south of South America. And other than that,
right.
Even at that, if you've got people going in circles within a certain area, you're not going to be worrying about too many rogues, so people act as if it would have to be intensely occupied and guarded, when really that's not the case. If you've implanted your globe in a couple of generations, you've taken away explorers and that type of mindset, you're not going to have many rogues who are going to be going wandering, so they could have us gone in circles within any confines, and we're trying to rationalise and come up with models and maps based on what they've shown us,
right. No, exactly.
Hey Dill,
exactly.
where are you? In Scotland?
I'm in the west of Scotland. Yeah.
Nice. That's where my great grandparents are from.
Nice.
Yeah.
Take it to the left. Couldn't handle the weather.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know why they got out of there. They should have stayed, if you ask me.
Because you never see the sun. That's probably why.
Yeah. Well, that's what my skin says I shouldn't. So, very, very white, very pale. Sun cooks me. But I drilled wells for 20, 25 years, and I know how water seeks its own level. If you have a pond somewhere and you're even a mile inland, the water level isn't the same where that pond is. I mean, you can drill down to 150 feet of dirt, and that pond level, the water is at that. It's like somebody just took a big pond and filled it in with dirt. There's no curve with water. Water does not curve, period.
Yeah, that's it. The place is covered in it. It's the greatest leveler, greatest measuring tool for level. And I don't know why it's so hard for people to grasp. It's just
I know.
And the problem is the images, and you're trying to point out to people and say, listen, it doesn't matter what images NASA produce from now on, if you understand natural physics, it has to comply with that. It doesn't matter if it's showing us images and how realistic it looks as being a globe, but can it be a globe? People need to ditch that and giving it relevant,
It wasn't until I got into the flat earth that I noticed how many globes they actually show you. The Pepsi emblem is a globe. Every movie that you look at, the introduction is a globe. It's just, they put them everywhere.
Absolutely. Universal pictures.
Yeah, right.
I've seen in the chat there, we've got the concave characters, and getting back to what you were saying, John, about the possibilities. The reality is that none of us know. We can hypothesize on possibilities, and I can even entertain these concave people, but no living in the inside walls of the sphere. I could conceive if you reverse the heliocentric model and place everything fixed on the a sphere rotating, but we're a level plane within it, then I could probably come up with something that's just the same. Have it wobbling back and forward and rotating. We could endlessly speculate. But the idea of concave and living in the inside walls is just as absurd as living in the exterior of it.
Yeah, and with concave, you've got one person who's really the main proponent of that, and I guess you've got some people that have sort of offshot from that. But the way that I was approached by concave theorists was by the regular person named Steven himself, and basically his approach was, "Oh, you're so stupid because you're making flat Earth videos. You better take them down now because the Earth is concave." And I looked into that, and it didn't really sit well with me. It wasn't logical. It didn't add up. And even now, from what I gathered, they're sort of disowning the rectilineator experiment. But honestly, I've seen that sort of product of the movement as disinformation, and that's just me personally. Because what it does I think, is it preys on people's pride. Because if you were fooled into thinking that the Earth is a sphere when it's actually just flat and stationary, then that makes you seem kind of silly now, doesn't it? However, if it's something complex, like we live on the inside of a sphere, then I guess for some people that may seem like not such a blow to their intellect, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that's the way I see it. I mean, to each his own, but the empirical evidence points to it being flat, stationary, and the model that they use for concave, it's very pretty. The CGI that they've done, very, very pretty. But other than that,
excuse me.
Again,
What do you guys?
it comes down to the practical example, and that was a problem with it when I had my encounters early on. And you ask, give me a practical example of how these bodies of water are conforming to the inside of you, and it's the same problem again. They want to overlook that, we have this element that's everywhere, that's telling us, we're on a level plane. The outer shell or whatever it could be, can speculate, but we are on a level plane within whatever it is.
That's the way it is.
I think half of what these shills and these NASA parrots, they smash on the word flat Earth. Now, if this movement had began with "the Earth is not a globe" as being the headline, as opposed to coming right out and saying flat Earth, I think more people would latch on to Dia, because it's not such an opposing idea as saying completely flat, we're flat. I've often said, you know what, I'm not exactly certain where we're at, but I'm pretty damn sure that we're not on a spinning globe at the rates and motions we're being told we are.
That's the logical fallacy with people. They don't get to define what I mean when I say flat Earth, and everybody should take that right for themselves as well. Even if you've flat Earth in your title, nobody has the right to attach any map or image to what you mean by flat Earth.
Agreed.
That's how they used it. They generalised it and put everybody in that category, and then labelled them with one map, one model.
Exactly.
Yeah, the term flat Earth has a lot of stigma attached to it, and people are automatically we know what the reaction is, and that stigma is something that that can either help or hurt us. I mean, I've actually made a whole series called Earth Not a Globe, and yeah, I definitely agree that it is better received if not phrased as flat Earth. It's another one of those weaponized terms, right? I mean, oh, you're so stupid, you must think the Earth is flat. It's an insult. And so, I think it is better received, but at the same time, when you say flat Earth, somebody thinks it's silly. Well, that should be easy to debunk, right? We learned this in 4th grade, that flat earthers are stupid and from 500 years ago. And that may, sort of prod people into looking into it further in terms of trying to debunk it, which is that's what I did, so.
I got to learn how to make some videos.
When I first heard flat Earth, like I was already neck deep in the NASA BS, but when flat Earth came, I said the exact same thing. I said that's ridiculous and insane. And I tried the actual data that proves a globe without NASA's pictures, and it's impossible. So it brings you right to the flat Earth. It really does.
Yeah,
and it is a weaponized term. Like people hammer on it as soon as they hear flat Earth.
So if everybody can start agreeing, we're all united in saying that what they told us is not true, and we really don't know what the full dimensions are, then we can start making a bit of headway a bit quicker, I think.
The more people, the better.
Well, we need to take back that flat Earth term, though.
Yeah.
We need to take back the term flat Earth, and we need to take destigmatize it, or whatever the term is. I don't know if that's the right word, but I mean, I think we should take that term back, because if we let them take it and we let them weaponize it, and well, I guess they already have, and associate it with being stupid or retarded, I mean, we kind of have to take that back. We have to disarm them of that weapon. And also, nobody knows what shape the Earth is, but I can't walk around going, hey, like I say flat Earth because that's a short way of saying the Earth is not a globe. I don't know what it is we're living on, but it isn't a globe. It isn't, we're not spinning through space. It's easier to say flat Earth.
That's right. We take that right back by making it clear to people. I will define what I mean by flat Earth.
Yeah.
Don't start bringing your logical fallacies to me and asking me to represent a straw man.
Right.
That's part of the line.
And it's not convex for the same reason, right? There's no curve. There's no measurable curve. It's not convex. It's not a ball.
We have no practical examples of how that's possible. Practicality with water.
And it's not a conspiracy theory either. That's another thing I'm tired of hearing about. And people say, "Oh, these flat earthers are just uneducated people." When 99% of the flat earthers I've talked to are a lot more intelligent, and some of the ballers I refer to them as could ever even dream of being.
Right. Yeah. Hey, Del. You mentioned the water. I wasn't. When it comes to the curve in water, etc., maybe you and John and you guys can help me out with this. But when we're like, you remember the Stephen Hawking Genius show where they chose a lake?
Yep, I remember that one.
I don't think there's right. I don't care how big the lake is. I don't think a lake is a good example of doing a laser test across either way, because the elevation from sea level, like we have Lake Ontario and Lake Superior up near me here, and they're monstrous lakes.
Yep.
But because their elevation from sea level is already 200 feet above sea level, and there's no, we don't have the basins of the lakes mapped to show elevations. We only have coast to coast elevations. I've often thought that using a lake I think the ocean is the only true laser test that can be done.
See, I have to disagree, and it's something that really bothers me, why people are so stuck on this. Let's ignore this natural element. Let's make a man-made instrument to then try and see if something's level, when we know fine well that the water underneath is the leveler. And if the body of water is not flowing anywhere, then we know that body of water must be level.
Yeah.
Rivers run downhill, right? Rivers run downhill, but the lake is the same level. The Lake Ontario and Lake Superior, when you look across from one shore to the other shore, it's the same height.
Yeah.
So you are level.
So I try and say that to people, let's not jump to using these tools. Remove that for people and point to that. See, that is the tool. There's a natural element that's telling us everything. So why do we need to then?
Well, lakes can be argue.
7.98. It wouldn't be 7.98 meters per second squared or whatever. It'd be so close to that it isn't funny anyway, and it wouldn't matter to us because we all use 8 anyway.
And the lake thing can be argued because what they say is that that body of water is just on a flat piece of land. So the curvature is made up for elsewhere, which creates that stalemate point where, okay, like a swimming pool, be on a flat piece of land. So therefore the water would appear flat because it's a flat piece of land. So I get what he's saying by saying using the ocean versus a lake, because they do still argue curvature when you give them proof of no curvature over a lake.
But somebody did debunk that Stephen Hawking one. I think it was Dr. Zach. He did his own version, and there was no drop at all. And a couple of people have done similar ones. But there's somebody that actually did it to Stephen Hawking, like they debunked Stephen Hawking.
How can it be a complete experiment when they're no, how are they taking into account refraction, diffraction, reflection? I mean, they're pointing a light through the atmosphere, so how do they account for it? It's not an exacting thing, that's what I would always argue. The water that's underneath your laser is more accurate than your laser,
than the laser.
Endless amounts of builders are going to agree with that.
So what was so funny about that Stephen Hawking video was they got just an extreme amount of curvature over just a few miles. It was really more than you'd expect. But when you look
they got exactly what Wikipedia said they would. Sorry, John. They got exactly what Wikipedia said they would, and that was the tell, right?
Well, if that's the case, even still, they did a pulled back shot of the whole laser, and what it really looked like to me was that they were bouncing the laser off the surface of the water, and it was forming an angle back up towards the top of the mast or whatever the cardboard piece was. And so they obviously, that was faked and it was paid actors. It wasn't scientific at all, but Stephen Hawking said it. So
if it was off by a hair, it would have pointed down anyway, right? That was the idea. So they can tell us it's level. You and I will never know.
Right? No, I mean, they didn't looking at the shot. I mean, they had it. They showed the whole shot for like a couple seconds, and what it appeared was that the laser was bouncing off the water, so they did have it angled down a hair, and they would have had to thought this through well in advance. I mean, it wasn't like it was just a random result, but yeah, everyone that's done such laser tests is coming back with results to where there is no vertical descent of the water.
Right. And they also didn't show any of the setup, and they should have used dual lasers. It was a horrible test to begin with, but that's the Discovery Channel genius show that all of these NASA parrots are using as their proof, and it's been debunked by others too. There was a group of Hungarians who debunked that test a few months ago, and it's somewhere up on YouTube. I can't remember the name of it though. It's bunk. It was bunk.
I posted a link in the chat in our group chat. It's Dr. Zach has that video where he debunks the Stephen Hawking show. They were doing their own test, and while they were doing it, they ended up debunking Stephen Hawking.
I know Jaron did the same thing, but he started out by debunking the puppet of Hawking. He put a lot of energy towards debunking the whole MLS and how can he be alive sort of thing before he debunked the test, which was funny. It was a humorous 45 minutes.
Oh yeah, he breaks all the rules. That guy breaks all the rules.
The thing is with Stephen Hawking is he's really the only person I can think of who's a celebrity with ALS, yet he wasn't on the ALS website for celebrities with ALS. And after Jaron brought that up, they actually changed the website.
What's the oldest person besides him to have ALS?
Oh, usually
to live with it, I think it's like 7 years or something.
A few years, not even a decade, really. It's very, very bad.
Yeah, and he's got what, 40 or 50? How many decades has it been? 5 decades now?
Yeah, 5 decades. Lou Gehrig only lived for 6.5 years, and he was a celebrity. I don't see how a guy who is in pretty good shape his whole life with ALS would die so quickly, while Stephen Hawking, who's confined to his chair, the whole time, somehow miraculously using his brain, according to one article I read. He overcame ALS by thinking about it. So whatever.
It's because he's so passionate about science. That's how he survived. That's
what he said. Yep.
Right.
My dedication to science.
Oh, well, it's all good humor, but when we're down here wondering about the shape of the earth and what's real and what's not, these jokers are just laughing,
Do you think it's going to pick up steam now? You think it's going to pick up steam because of the basketball stars?
Yeah, Shaq was
I don't know if you guys have
coming out with it.
I don't know
so
if you guys have talked about it already.
It's definitely going to gain momentum, like in short bursts, though,
Shaq's got the big Mason ring.
Yeah. He's just an honorary Mason, though.
just by the law of averages, right? I mean, if you tell 1 million people about flat Earth, or however many million, even if 1 or 2% of them decide to pursue it, in terms of testing it, then you've got a whole bunch of people.
The way Eddie Bravo was talking was like, the way Eddie Bravo was talking, it was like there's millions and like it's crazy big. Whereas we're hoping that's the truth. You know what I mean? But we really don't know.
Well, that's I saw a statistic. I don't know how true it is. Pretty recently, that people were polled on whether or not they believe that the Earth is a sphere, and I think it was like 7% said no, and 7% said not sure, and 86% or whatever said, yeah, it's a sphere. But even 7 or 14% that aren't sure, at least, that's a huge number. If it's actually extrapolated, properly to the mass of the population, who knows? But it could be. I'm under the impression that it's a whole hell of a lot bigger than it was even a year ago.
Absolutely, especially back in.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It was only. I remember when there was like maybe 2 or 3 flat Earth videos when what's his name put that video out, because I was looking for more information and I couldn't find anything, and then it just exploded. So if it keeps on going on that in 10 years, well, it should sway in our favor.
Quicker than that.
Hey, Del, I just wanted to ask you something. You did the live stream regarding religion yesterday. Was that, or the day before yesterday?
Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday. You had a guy on there, that Christian you were talking to, going back to saying Jesus is real, there's documentation. He must have said that 50 times. And the response, I think this guy was responding to you having Eric Dubay on. Do you understand what I mean? You had Eric Dubay on who has put out a couple of videos regarding that subject, pretty strongly opposed to the idea of the reality of it. And I watched for about 45 minutes or an hour yesterday of that. And I just noticed that this guy would not let that go. He just kept bringing it back on you. And I didn't watch the remaining 3 hours. So I was wondering if did you get anywhere with that show? Like, did that guy leave and you had other people on actually moving forward, or was it kind of stuck on that for the?
No, once that guy left, there's so many other people who had came on, and the discussion went to other things. The whole point was just because of the attacks and the claims that were being made about, this whole, people are trying to hide God, and, you're a Satanist and all this fucking nonsense. So as usual, I just thought I would meet it head on and offer anybody, if they want to come in and have a logical discussion, and try and prove something to me and explain to me why I should place any relevance upon any religion, then please do so, It's not that, you're saying, there's no a creator or, design to the place or anything like that, It's just that I'm not accepting somebody telling me that they know what the whole game is. That's just not right.
No, I agree. I have mixed feelings about the whole subject. And
I really don't want to be involved in it, because it just causes so much division, because people have got something to cling to, it becomes more muddying of the waters. This really is not a subject that requires anything other than pure logic, natural science. What proofs do we have? What is the objective reality? Let's just discover it. And if we can discover it, then we can eradicate all this need for substitutes,
diversions and substitutes. Absolutely.
I mean, I'm a Christian, and all I'm going to say is that there's a lot of dogma involved in anybody's beliefs, right? We all know that. We come from a globe, right? Christians have the same thing with regards to their beliefs, what they're supposed to do when they become one and whatnot. And some of them, what I gather is that we're supposed to drop seeds, and if you get the call, then you're going to get the call, and you're going to look into it, and you're going to go down that road. We're not to force it on anybody, right?
I was born Catholic, and I have a hard time believing that God would I have a hard time believing God would trust man to spread His word. You know what I mean? They're so, I don't know, influential. They can easily be manipulated. So why would God trust a man to spread His word?
I think all these ideas stem from taking the foundation away from people. I really don't think that it's worthwhile to pursue any of them. We have this natural ability and curiosity to explore. So for me, that tells me that there's much more to find out pursuing that and using our actual senses and exploring the objective world than going in circles with hypotheses in your mind and then arguing with other people about a hypothesis or an idea. It's really pointless as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. But people are entitled to have the freedom to believe or think whatever they want. It's the people who keep coming to you telling you that you're avoiding it, that it should have relevance, and trying to push it on you. That I'm only asking them questions. I'm quite prepared to accept it if they can show me something that's feasible. But,
I think there's a distinction to be made between institutionalized religions and spirituality or faith. And I just look at people who are Christians and claim to be evangelical or take the Bible word for word literally. Great example would be Dr. Kent Hovind again. Yet they will still claim that the Earth is a spinning sphere. And so what that does is now you start to have to debate the Bible. And frankly, that's not where I want to go with this, because my position on it is the Bible wasn't intended to prove curvature or flatness of the Earth. It wasn't. Now, obviously, it was written in a context to where everybody knew the Earth was flat. And so, of course, they wouldn't describe a spinning sphere. But to me, it just sort of goes to show that there is a lot of ignorance and arrogance wrapped up with religion, as not necessarily talking bad against the life of Christ or talking bad against religious people or spirituality or faith or any of that. Just saying that if you're going to be heavily invested into dogmas, then you're by default going to be ignorant of possibly the truth.
Hey, Jonathan, what is your channel? Because your voice is so familiar to me. Excuse me. What's your? I've watched videos with your voice in it, so I'm just trying to figure out.
The Morgile.
All right, yeah, that's why you would have that name up there.
Yeah,
I didn't know if that was your channel or what, man. I've seen your videos because the voice is just so familiar.
Well, John, I became a flat earther. It's over 2 years, 3-4 months now. So I was one of the early adapters, and I was a born again Christian a long time before then. And I found flat earth. I swear to you, I never even looked in the Bible for it.
Right.
Never once. And I found it, and I'm telling you, it was at least 6 or 7 months before somebody came out with a video that said, "Is it biblical?" And I went, "What? I can't believe I've never looked." And you know what I found when I looked? I've got 120 scriptures that are absolutely backwards to the heliocentric model. You can take that for flat if you want. You can take that for whatever, but what they are is anti-heliocentric model
claims. They're claims or statements.
Well, they're biblical proofs. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, and that's
to
what I'm saying.
Person.
Yeah, so like if somebody believes the Bible literally, then it can be helpful to tell them about their Bible. But even
Hovind is an enigma, right? Dr. Hovind really is an enigma.
Yeah, because not really.
He uses the same. Well, he's an enigma because he uses the exact same. He talks against the exact same books that claim to disprove his theories, right? And then he uses them when he disproves us.
Yeah,
in his mind, right? So he's an enigma.
Yeah, no, I was the same way. It never crossed my mind in that week where I was totally, went from a globehead to a flat earther. Yeah. It never even crossed my mind. It was really an afterthought to where, hey, that's a bonus. The Bible clearly is a flat stationary earth book, and so that should be helpful for people that are religious and Christian, and really pretty much all of the religions don't preach a spinning spherical earth because, again, they were written in a context where everybody knew. And so to me, it's really kind of disappointing and frustrating at once because, I tend to prefer to stick to the basic stuff. Again, we're talking about simple curvature, geometry, and axial rotation, physics. And, these globeheads say that you don't notice the spinning and the 66,600 mile per hour velocity of the earth. You don't notice any of this, the sun going around the solar system. system or galaxy, you don't notice it because there's no acceleration. But that's ridiculous. You're talking about zipping, even just spinning around that curve is.
It's only 1 RPM, John. 1 RPM a day.
Right. Yeah.
But it's going 1,000 miles an hour. Yeah, I know.
But the point is, it's not a linear velocity. It's a curve velocity, just talking about the spin. And when you combine that with the orbit, you're talking about the Earth racing up to your feet at 65,000 miles an hour in the morning and racing down away from your feet at 65,000 miles an hour in the evening. And so, you're talking about an acceleration of over 130,000 miles an hour in just a 12-hour period. You would be doing essentially a phase shift in your inertial reference to the Earth constantly. It would be a constant acceleration, and it really just destroys the argument that we don't notice it because it's a fixed frame of reference with no acceleration. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and how good.
Oh no, go ahead.
How the Coriolis effect can affect bullets but not airplanes just blows my mind.
Worse, it affects paper airplanes but not real airplanes.
Right.
Excuse me for 2 seconds, guys.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
It affects bullets but not cannonballs.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of them.
John.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just wondering what are your plans for the next few months as far as what you're going to be doing or releasing? I know you have that book, right?
Yeah. I'm working on my book, and I'll keep doing little videos here and there. I put out a few in the last week. I did a 4-hour and 20-minute one about a week and a half ago. Got that out.
Wow.
Response to Kent Hovind, that was about 30 minutes. So I'm focusing on my book. It's going well, and in the meantime, I'll keep on post on YouTube and keep on trucking at it, man.
What software do you use to make your videos?
For video editing, I use Sony Vegas Pro 13.
Yeah, I wish I had started making them back in 2012.
Yeah, I mean, it's an expensive software, but I didn't pay for it. It was a gift. It was a gift. Yeah,
I found it on the road. Yeah.
Someone who isn't me gave it to me.
Yeah.
Hey, John, if you're interested and you want to do some street interviews, since you're only an hour away from me, I'd be happy to go out there and do that with you. I think that would be epic. If the Morgile did some street interviews.
The more people you can reach, the better.
I've been wanting to do something like that for a long time, and I actually stated that I would, and so I intend to. I just need a decent camera and a camera person.
It would probably help too to bring like a tablet or something like that to show whoever you're interviewing the visuals. I was thinking of that
like
too.
Jill does.
Well, that's a tablet is certainly better than
can't hurt me.
Yeah,
a girl can't hurt me either.
Right. No, a tablet is certainly better than the technology that the ancient Greeks had, which would have been a stick and a hole in the ground.
And another thing, the Giza pyramids, right? They were built on the premises of a flat Earth, right? And they're the most accurately, astronomically, aligned building ever built. And it was built on the idea that we're on a flat Earth or a flat plane.
Well, and I've heard all sorts of really wild speculation and theories about the Great Pyramid, where it itself contains all of these equations like I don't know, pi and the speed of light. But at the end of the day, it doesn't appear that they accounted for curvature when building them. And what perplexes me is, how would those things remain in their alignment to the stars for thousands of years?
In an expanded universe, right?
Well, and not only that, but in a universe or a galaxy where everything is constantly or should constantly be changing relative to one another. But it never happens.
No, it's not evident at all. Absolutely.
And when they do that pyramid, when they place the dots on the pyramids on the globe, it's like a rounded pyramid opposed to the flat. It's like a perfect shape of the pyramid, like it actually exists. With not a rounded pyramid, like rounded off diamond, like.
Well, there was a scientist who really got a lot of flack and lost a lot of credibility by doing experiments with just the simple shape of pyramids, not the big giant ones, but just that shape and the geometry of it. And apparently it promotes healing. It helps. I don't know. It's beneficial for life. It's beneficial according to this. Yeah, according to this guy's experiments. And we can't write stuff like that off. I mean, it really is fascinating when you look at the pyramids at Giza and the monolithic, megalithic structures all over the world that are similar in a lot of ways. I was watching the other day in Peru. I guess I'll never pronounce the name, Göbekli Tepe, and all of these really interesting ancient places that are just now being sort of looked at. And there are some parallels between this architecture and Egyptian architecture. And it really makes you wonder. I remember years ago seeing evidence that it was a female mummy, I forget which one it was, but that she had tobacco, like nicotine and cocaine in her blood.
Right.
Weird, right? And
in South America.
Right. That stuff is indigenous to South America. And so what that opens up is either the flora was different then, or there was some sort of trade going on worldwide. And to me, that's what the evidence really seems to point to, is that there was some overarching worldwide civilization, and that was at some point in the past lost.
What do you guys think of that?
You probably connect them with the megalithic structures around the world. That's where you'll find a connection.
What do you think of the
then
forest?
you can look at churches that get built over them. Sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I was just going to say the Catholic churches have built over top of a lot of these, the oldest churches in existence. So that'll give you a little clue as to
they also
how
say
these were
there's
connected.
allegedly 17,000 pyramids on Earth.
Yeah, I bet there is.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
I bet there's a lot of them in the outer edges. What do you guys think? You guys, I'm sure you've seen the forest, no trees. What do you believe on that? What do you think?
Investigation still in progress.
Right?
Yeah. It was meant to waste our time.
There's not much time. You got to pick and choose.
I thought it was interesting.
Yeah,
it was
me too, but I thought it was a waste of time.
Yep.
I mean, it was meant to waste our time.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
These things are already here. We need to establish where here is.
If we now regarding that, when you're talking about wanting to do some traveling and testing the boundaries,
I'd have to see grow rings, and I didn't notice that.
Right, the trees, they were hexagonal columns, right?
I know, those
very
were
energetic columns, like
plant.
how plant life
actually occur,
Well, from lava plumes, they can't.
Right.
I've never seen evidence of that happening from a natural lava plume. That is a fixed shape that occurred over and over, and I think that's where the whole idea of them being ancient silicate trees.
Right.
My theology allows for giants. My theology allows for giants. It allows for giant trees. It allows for giant fruit. It doesn't really play for this, giant rock trees or silicon trees. I don't find anything there, or 60-mile or 100-mile high trees. Because if you got a base that's a mile wide, look at a stump on the ground, right? That'd be a 60-foot high tree. That'd be a 60-mile
And it
high
would be covered up at this point after a flood.
tree.
So you wouldn't really see that
And that's
stump
a little
that
much.
large.
That's a little much for me to agree with. But who knows? The ancient science, ancient color. There's a hidden science, right? We all kind of, whether you think it was hidden in the religions or whatever, but maybe they had something that could grow rock. Who knows? Or silicon. We just don't know.
With giants, the Smithsonian has done a pretty good job, from what I gather, of covering it up. Anytime somebody finds giant remains, giant skulls, the Smithsonian carts it off. And you never see it again. But if you look at there are actually giants in the past, whether it's people, giant plants, giant fish, all sorts of giant insects and animals. And there's been studies done that if you increase barometric pressure, increase magnetic field, and increase oxygen content, all three of those will add to giantism. And it's not like a deformity or a gene expression. It's actual, a bigger and bigger versions of the same animal.
They did an experiment with goldfish, and the goldfish came out gigantic, basically, trying to recreate those ancient conditions. And just fish alone.
More oxygen, was it? Much more oxygen, or what?
Yeah, more oxygen, higher barometric pressure, and higher electromagnetic field. Yeah, and it really seems as if that was what was going on at some point in the past. And I often think of the Ice Age as a possibly real thing that may have contributed to or been a result of this great flood. That everybody thinks that's just a Christian thing, but it isn't. There's
not at all.
Great flood account.
It's in every culture.
Every culture, yeah.
Every culture, yeah.
Right. Homer wrote it. I think it was the Odyssey or it was the Iliad. I can't remember which one, but Homer wrote of Inapishtim, who built the ark, and that was in 7th to 8th century BC. Homer lived, and that was an origin of the flood story that we see in the Noah Bible story. I think they just cookie cuttered it out from the past, gave it a new name, and threw it in there.
That's a problem.
Well, the
stuff from books.
The biblical account says that there was one language, and that so it's quite possible that whoever was in, and it also says that there was a story in the stars that was originally told, God's story, whatever you believe, and all the cultures over time have usurped that story. But the idea is that there was originally one language. That's why the Virgin is the Virgin in every culture, like Virgo. We call it Virgo here. Why Orion is always the hunter in every culture. He's the hunter. All the stars are named the same in every culture. That's why you have crossovers like the word for boat in Chinese, it's a pictorial language, right? It's 8 people. Like it's crazy stuff. These are all crossover from flood. Sorry, the flood is a picture of a boat and 8 people.
Yeah.
So,
the whole idea of only one family surviving a worldwide flood to me is rather absurd, because we obviously have a robust population with lots of different races, and I just don't think that God, a creator, would be racist. And to think that only one family survived is just sort of mad, because what are we all incestual love children of one family? I don't think so. I really don't. And so I try to take the good and leave the bad, and the idea that God would have a chosen race, to me, is just kind of ridiculous.
Well, the Bible doesn't come out right and say that they were the only survivors. As a matter of fact, when you do your homework, and you got to, like, the Bible is a book that needs
there was more. They found people afterwards, but
there's families that don't fit into that. There's families that don't work into the genealogies, because we have all the genealogies after Noah.
Right, and
so
I guess what I'm
if
saying
they don't fit in, they just show up. Yeah,
I'm just saying a lot of people see it that way. That Noah and his family were the only ones to survive, and I just obviously that isn't even supported really by scripture, but that's what people believe for whatever reason. And if there was a worldwide flood, obviously we've got other people that survived for sure.
I would ask people, what relevance does any of that have to any of our lives and with the position we actually are in?
Right. Yeah.
We keep referring back to these books and these ancient times and these ancient stories, and it's a psychology that is just fucking crazy. Everyone is living right now, and should be focused on what's in front of us, and how do we resolve it, rather than sorry.
I'll be the first one to take a trip, guys. The problem is finances. I'll be the first one to go if there's any free access to do any exploring, Antarctica wise, even the North Pole. I do know that up north, like, to travel up there is almost impossible nowadays. I was part of Belcom doing wireless work for Farranon and Rogers in the north, and we were across the Northwest Territories doing tower work, and there's no access. It's heavily militarized now. I know all around the north there, the United States has that on lockdown. Parts of Canada, Columbus Island, it's all United States naval research bases. There's a couple of, the old DEW line, that's what I used to work on. Farranon and Bell Canada bought a lot of those sites and converted them to microwave point-to-point tower for the surrounding Native American reservations and populations, so that they would have a form of communication with that was part of the network. So I was up there for 3 years, jumping across the top of Canada.
Where were you? What latitude were you at?
Pardon me?
Longitude. What longitude were you?
30th. It was the 30th.
How high up were you on the ball?
You know where Ellis Island is?
There's no ball, but you know what I meant.
I know what you're talking about, and it's a lot smaller too. Like, people see this globe Canada, and they think it's this massive sprawling area up north. It's really not even close to how big it's represented on the globe map. It was Ellis. We were Columbus, Ellis Island. I
heard it was at 70 degrees. I heard the DEW line was 70 degrees. I just wanted to know if that was true, or because you were there. So
was at 70 degrees.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Okay. I don't even even know. It was all. I actually don't even know exactly what lap we were on as far as how far north. But it's the Pikangikum, Columbus Island, Ellis, and then we came back down to Tuktoyaktuk, and then we went right over to Alaska from midway up where Tuktoyaktuk, Canada is. If you have a map.
Yep.
Straight over.
It'd be so
Gakona
funny.
was our last stop. Gakona, Alaska was our last stop, and that was Gakona is where the first HARP station was ever built and operated by the Department of.
If Australia was poised to attack South America, then we'd build one in the South. It's never going to happen.
No,
but,
what we do have
an early warning system, for Russian attack. That's what they built
Right.
it as.
It was the early warning system for the United States, for Russian nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
And as far as the southern oceans and whatnot, I know that the Department of the Navy in the 40s and 50s started what they called the NG SOSUS, to be a Northern Atlantic and Northern Pacific warning net for submarines and other surface fleets, and it was put in place because of the scare of the Russians. The southern oceans also have SOSUS buoys that are out there that are tied in to the network. Like people talk about the GPS, the lack of GPS. Well, in the southern oceans, the lack of GPS isn't because they're unable to do it, obviously, because they have these buoys that were converted in the early 90s, not only as a net for anything below the surface, but it was tied into the main network that is our communications and GPS network that is tied into the ABC line, all of the buried trunk data cable that's everywhere around the world. They do have GPS, but they turn it off. That's obviously the answer, because they're able to track in the Southern Ocean below and above the surface up to what I believe is 25,000 feet in altitude to the depth, using these converted SOSUS buoys. And so, because I've seen a few of the videos where people are tracking the planes and they're all flying, like, because of the nature of where we live, they all are passing through the north to get to the other continent often. But they're still able to track in the Southern Ocean. So that's also part of the whole Antarctica farce that's going on. They don't need a lineup of ship destroyers and Aegis cruisers out there checking everything out. They have these buoys that are constantly updating every minute the information that's happening.
Like a recon grid. Yeah, it makes sense.
It's totally true. I've seen the buoys. I've seen how they do it. In fact, 20 years ago, I was one of the technicians before I became a coordinator with the company. I was one of the wireless technicians that took all the dive training and whatnot out of a lab in Guelph here, because I wanted to be one of the guys out in the Atlantic running cable and all over the world. They were doing it. They started doing that in the 40s. In fact, they started doing it in the 30s. As far as the east coast of North America being connected to you guys, Del, on the island and the Europe, that was all connected up by 1941. As far as cabling for telephony and for data transfer, like it was well established, and they have been piling the money onto that ever since. It eliminates the whole satellite issue. Satellites do not exist in telecommunications for this very reason. They're far too expensive, and they already have the network established, and they have for decades. So go off there.
No, that's great. And satellites are obviously, to me, it's really obvious that they're a hoax, because first of all, like you said, it would be just so difficult. And if they want to achieve repeater signals and devices up high, then they can do that with weather balloons, which they've been doing since the turn of the century pretty much. And
Absolutely.
I have people ask me all the time, well, why don't you just go circumnavigate Antarctica? Well, you got a few $1,000,000 to blow in a seafaring, ice-breaking vessel. And the answer to that is usually going to be no. I was recently pointed to this guy, Fedor Konyakov, who allegedly circumnavigated the South Pole going, east-west.
Right.
And if you look into it, he's a regular haunt for the Antarctica Cup race or whatever. And if you look into that, they're not going anywhere near the Antarctic Circle. They typically don't even go much further south than 45 or, low 50-degree latitudes. And Fedor Konyakov, the proof is right there in the record that he broke. He allegedly broke the record of circumnavigating the world below 45 degrees south. That's his record. He did it in 102 days. But when you look at it, he even states that he spent like 95 days, and almost 96% of the time or whatever, 95% of that time in the 40 and 50-degree latitudes. And so even by his own admission, he never even approached the South Polar latitudes. And so the whole Antarctic Cup race and Fedor Konyakov with his record are really good evidence against the claim that they're circumnavigating the damn South Pole, for crying out loud.
Yeah, that's
right. Exactly.
That's as high up as the UK to Toronto. Like that range is like France to the UK. That's not their height or their lowness on their imaginary ball. Crazy.
Yeah, right. It certainly proved that he was nowhere close enough to claim that he actually did that circumnavigation. And when he broke the world navigation record, it was because he was so close on the flat plane to his circumference around it. It would have taken 102. I know that the history of Antarctica and who's explored it, Captain Cook, etc. Anybody who's actually done or attempted to do a circumnavigation of Antarctica in the past has always come up so long and time consuming and have never actually done a full circumnavigation. I know Captain Cook spent 3 years trying to find an inlet to get onto Antarctica, and something like 68,000 miles. So he I guess that would be only about halfway around.
But again, all this is based on testimonies and stuff written in books, is it not?
Yeah.
So, at what point do we say, we'll trust that, but we'll not trust in this? I mean, we just ditched all these stories and anecdotes. Sorry, that's just the way I feel about it.
Some of these stories are the reason why I am so ardent about what I believe when it comes to Antarctica and the flat Earth. Also, though, is that these guys prove that it's not a quick and easy roundabout on Antarctica down there. It's always been a long duration and very, very time consuming, and none of them ever actually did. So, me is part of the reason and the proofs that yes, Antarctica has never been circumnavigated, and unless you're going to take the time to do the full outer rim all the way around, I'm not even sure how many miles they say that is in total on our potential map, because we don't know exactly, right? We don't know exactly where we are here. So in
Zetetic Astronomy, Robotham pieced together the accounts of different South Polar adventurers, and what he's stating is that the 45 degrees south average latitude is about 26,000 miles, statute miles around. And so it's wider than the equator, allegedly. So that sort of does away with the globe. But you can also sort of use that as a point of reference to where, again, the AE projection is a bit skewed, especially when you get as far out as the equator and beyond. But practically, you could say that it's about 26,000 miles around and the 45 degrees south average. So if you extrapolate that out a bit, down to the 66 degrees south where the South Polar Circle starts, then, it doesn't seem like it would be that much bigger. I mean, it would be maybe 30,000 miles, who knows? But the AE projection does not accurately depict that, and that's an issue. It's the outermost ring is skewed to infinity, just like the Mercator projection, the top and bottom are skewed to infinity. And so that's sort of the issue that we have with maps, is that we're taking the assumption of latitude and longitude lines, which are simply imaginary lines, and and saying this proves one thing or another. But from what I gather, there hasn't been enough geodetic and full spectrum surveying of the far south latitudes to say conclusively. And so with that amount of mystery surrounding the Antarctic, you'd think that we would have enough motivation to go ahead and get out there and do it. But our governments are obviously not representative of what we want, and it's too expensive for your average person to just go circumnavigate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Agreed.
For sure. Yeah, it is difficult, isn't it? We're relying your whole life on these institutions, and then you snap out of it, and you still a lot of the information is still only being filtered through the institutions that you want to use some of the information to prove it wrong, but you can't. For me with NASA, I can't believe anything anymore. I refuse to believe of what I thought I knew about the world, about all of it. So just very difficult.
Yeah, they just don't.
And it would be nice, like, let's get our cash together and we'll go get ourselves a good liner. Like, we go rent a liner for a year. I'd go on that trip. I just don't have the cash. I wish I did.
Let's just keep pushing to get as many people away as possible, and we've got military equipment there, people to operate it. That would be my ideal scenario, rather than just a band of merry men going in one direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's all go die. We'll just go straight out. And that's what would happen. You'd have to have somewhere, you'd have to know where you're going. And yeah, I agree, Del, that, awareness, because how are people going to think to solve a problem if they don't know that it exists?
Yeah,
right? So if we can get the awareness out, then, the problems will sort of start getting solved automatically, because people will be, professionals, specialists will be curious and go and do stuff like this, hopefully. And yeah, I would be on board as well if invited. So
yeah, me too.
Absolutely.
Me too. But listen, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I never intended for it to be so long, but I appreciate everybody coming on.
All right.
Awesome, man. Thanks for hanging. I love your stuff, man. It was great hanging out with you guys.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Anytime,
you're
guys.
doing great work, Del, and I'm glad to meet all of you, John and Del, and I'm not sure the other name's Karen.
Karen.
And here, Del, Karen, John.
Just a bunch of flat tards.
Just a bunch of flat tards. Well, it's good to meet y'all, and hopefully we can do this again soon, eh?
Excellent. Anytime, guys. We're here on the Saturdays.
Congratulations on your success. It's good to see your channel growing like this. You deserve it.
Yeah.
It's the truth that I want to be successful, man. It's not me. It's not about me. I don't want.
I know. It's good.
Cheers. I appreciate it, though, man.
Good on
It's
you.
coming, Del.
Peace.
It's coming, buddy. Take care, guys.
Easy. Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Sure, thank you. And John, I might hit you up for do some street interviews later.
Yeah, I put my number in the chat. Did you get it earlier?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
I look forward to seeing some of that. Hopefully soon, guys. I'm going to thanks everybody in chat. Marshall, cheers, bud. Security boy, thank you.